6 o'clock, good morning, live from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning, I'm Justin Hawkins. In Titans news yesterday, per ESPN's Adam Schefter, wide receiver Tyler Lockett has asked for and received his release from the Tennessee Titans. Lockett has 10 catches and 70 yards in 7 games this season and is expected to be able to and free to sign with another team after 3 o'clock on Central Wednesday afternoon. In other NFL news, defensive end Brandon Graham announced yesterday that he is coming out of retirement to rejoin the Philadelphia Eagles this week. Graham will return for his 16th NFL season in Philadelphia. Also, Monday Night Football doubleheader last night as the Detroit Lions handled the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24-9. Jahmyr Gibbs with 136 rushing yards on the night and 2 touchdowns in the win. But for the Bucs, they lost more than the game as wide receiver Mike Evans suffered a clavicle fracture and he will miss mostly toward the end of the season per the team. In the nightcap, despite 4 turnovers, the Seattle Seahawks beat the Houston Texans 27-19 as Jackson Smith-Njigba with his 5th 100-yard receiving game of the year, and he also added a touchdown in the win. And in the MLB last night, the Toronto Blue Jays are headed to the World Series thanks to a go-ahead 3-run home run by George Springer in the 7th inning, which ends a thrilling 7-game series. The Blue Jays will face the Los Angeles Dodgers with Game 1 in Toronto this Friday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Off and running on your Tuesday morning edition of Ramon and Will. We are fueled, as always, by Scooter's Coffee. We take your phone calls at 615-737-1045 as we wake up with you for the next 4 hours. Hope you're having a good start to your day. If you're up and at 'em early this morning, we stream it live for you as well. 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. The Tennesseans' Nick Suss stops by bright and early at 7:20. Austin Price of AllQuest at 8:20 with the latest on Tennessee and Tony Vitello, reactions to Tennessee and Alabama. Plus, we're going to dive into some of the criticisms, both fair and unfair, of Cam Ward. Where's the line between, yeah, he's got to get better at this, and, all right, you're just overreacting? We'll talk about that on the show this morning on this Tuesday, October the 21st, a cool Tuesday morning in Music City. What's going on, Ramon Foster?
Man, not a whole lot. By the way, we absolutely mean we hope you're having a good morning when you get up in the morning drive to work and you turn us on, man. I heard you say that, and I was just like, I absolutely mean that. I hope they're having a good morning, man.
Absolutely.
Mornings can be iffy, and you never know what the night before did to you, man, how football affected you, if your bets hit or did not hit. If the kids forgot to bring home homework or charge their iPads, because you also have to have iPads charged every single day now.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, they pass.
Do you really?
Yeah, no, it has to be at minimum 80% or 85% before coming into the classroom.
Just
because
another thing to remember to do that I would have forgotten to do very often.
And listen, my youngest has had this situation. My nephew, who's with us also, he's had this situation happen from time to time. Like, it's a normal thing, and then parents have to deal with it the next day because kids may get in trouble because they teach off the iPads. So we do wish you have a good morning, and depending on how the weekend went for you, you can be a Vols fan. I've seen Texas fans be livid also. Listen, or Auburn. Hey.
We're going to talk about them here in about 15 minutes.
Exactly, man. But, yeah, no doubt about it, Will. It's a good one, though, man. Saw some Monday Night Football last night. Still looking over the Titan stuff that's happened this past weekend. Just honestly trying to figure out what's what with this squad, man. And as you said, I thought long and hard about the Cam Ward conversation that we said we were going to have. I actually called some people to ask some questions.
Okay.
No, seriously. I got some good intel, got some good insight on comparisons of he and just how you guide a young guy coming into this league like that.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. It was hopefully it's as good as I think it's going to be, the conversation.
Well, Titans news yesterday from Adam Schefter of ESPN says the Titans are releasing veteran wide receiver Tyler Lockett. The 33-year-old asked for his release and was granted it on Monday. He is expected to sign with another team after 3 o'clock Central Time on Wednesday. Lockett signed a one-year deal worth up to $6 million with the Titans in April. And Jerron Davenport writes at ESPN, Tennessee had hoped Lockett would bring a veteran presence to the receiver room. He caught 10 passes for 70 yards in 7 games while playing 44.7% of the offensive snaps. What was your initial reaction seeing this yesterday?
When it's bad, it's just snowball. This is a snowball effect. My initial thinking was, he was brought in for a specific reason, leadership, a calming, talent that's supposed to move the chains and be productive for a young quarterback. We spoke all this offseason about how they were trying to surround Cam with guys that they felt like could help him advance his career and understand the game a little bit more too. Tyler Lockett and watching him play has always been like a real treat to quarterbacks. His ability to get open, find the open spaces. I viewed this one as if it's a bad look for Cam. It's a bad look for the organization when you have a veteran who's never, in my, watching of him and coverage of him, had a bad situation like this. Like, this is everybody to the top of the ship and jumping over when you have a dude like him wanting out, like asking for his release. That wasn't a good look. If I'm a player on the team and he does that, my side chat and conversations are probably going to be along the lines of, man, dang, I kind of want out too. Or how do we continue to salvage this season? It'll be two conversations in the locker room. Well, screw him. And the other one is, I don't blame him.
It's a little surprising considering the just personality Tyler Lockett has and the experience he had brought. And he was very much a leader, a calming presence, a not overly reactionary guy, a good locker room guy. So from that context, I'm a bit surprised that he wanted to move on and wanted to kind of abruptly stop what he was kind of brought here to do, which was to lead Cam Ward and to be a leader in the locker room. But, only playing 44% of the snaps kind of also tells you what the Titans feel about him at this point, and that Chimere Dike earned a lot more opportunities on Sunday against the New England Patriots. They brought up Mason Kinsey. They feel like there is a youth movement that is now starting, and I think it benefits one person. And Titans fans are going to think, oh, you mean Xavier Restrepo? No, I mean Chimere Dike. I think Chimere Dike is getting a lot more of the looks in the slot. I think DK has earned more of a role within the offense versus just the special teams based off of what he's shown us he can do in special teams. It's one of those things, Ramon, that we see a lot in football from a lot of different ways and roles. Once you master the special teams part of things, then you earn more of a responsibility on the offense or the defense. To me, it feels like Chimere Dike has done that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But also, the front part of that before Chimere got caught up to speed was, Cam came in and I'm not necessarily blaming him, but the conversation was he's supposed to be this generational guy to help extend, or get this team in a position where it's competitive with the wide receivers that they chose to brought in. Or they chose to brought in. Van Jefferson been a part of that. I looked at Lockett as more respectfully than what Van Jefferson was. I thought he was going to be I'm talking about an intricate part of this offense. And it never showed up, not even a little bit for him, either because he's lost a step or either because Cam couldn't find him. One thing wide receivers like, to your point, and maybe Cam's developed a little bit more of this with Chimere Dike, is knowing where the quarterback is going to be, knowing that the quarterback can give me my yards. I don't think Tyler Lockett is going to be a Hall of Fame type of guy by any stretch in his career with what he's done. But I do look at him, as veteran as he is, as long as he's been in this league, to be a guy that still gets the football, and he didn't get it. Whether that be because Cam is missing his mark or because they just never connected like that. It's probably more. I don't think he's dealt with this type of chaos until the latter part of Pete Carroll's career up in Seattle, though. So seeing how it can go downhill for him and being a part of a bad team, it stinks being bad. And a guy like him, I don't think he's ever had to deal with this type of season before.
Yeah, it's certainly a bit different. You are right.
It can seem weak for the people that look at him leave the locker room like this, But this is also a performance-based league, and your reputation's kind of attached to it also.
Hey, the biggest drop-off Tyler Lockett had this season, and whether this is Cam Ward's fault or his fault, I'll let people who know more about football than me decide, but his catch percentage has always been between 60 to 75%. Even, heck, in 2018, it was 81% of the amount of catches he was having based off the targets he was getting. So, for example, last season, he caught 66% of his targets. His career low within that category was in 2016, before he really became Tyler Lockett. 62% catches of his targets, which was 66 targets back in 2016. So he's never been below 62% catch rate, meaning, again, the percentage of targets he catch. This season, Ramon, 48%. He's not catching the targets coming his way. He's got 21 targets and only 10 catches. That's a small sample size, but possession wide receiver in the slot who's supposed to find the holes in the zone, whether it's Cam's fault or his fault is a separate conversation. But the fact of the matter is he wasn't fitting. He wasn't catching the passes that were being thrown his way. And when you ultimately aren't productive in the way you have been over your career and you feel like you maybe could be somewhere else with a more veteran quarterback or a more experienced play caller or situation, then yeah, I think this makes sense. And I think it makes sense for both the Titans and for Tyler Lockett.
It does. And that's just a respectful way of absolutely putting it together right there. I've been around guys where we've had the backup quarterback come in and they hated him. The wide receivers, they didn't know where the ball was going to go. Antonio Brown and Mike Vick, AB absolutely hated the ball that he was throwing. And it frustrated the quarterback, too, because when you have your starter that you're used to playing with or an expectation that guys can give you the football, where you have to have it, how you need to how often you need to need it also is questionable for those dudes. Again, that is a very finicky position, wide receiver, because you're relying upon somebody else to be good at the job, watching you be better than the person they're beating. And it's a trick. That's why they're divas. That's why it's so many in and out, because they depend on somebody else to do the job for them or deliver the goods to them, and sometimes they miss. It's just a frustrating part of the job. And Lockett, I don't think, was publicly frustrated with it. He just probably went and asked for a release.
Live for the 104.5 The Zone Circus Sports Studio, Kentucky's largest sports book can now be found at Circus Sports at Kentucky Downs. Coming up, more college football reaction. We spoke yesterday about Tennessee and Vanderbilt. What about the rest of the conference? Auburn, Missouri, Texas, Kentucky, Carolina, OU. Lots more to come. Talking college football with you to lead off the show. Coming up next. Ramona Will is fueled by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone, locally owned in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Ramon Foster and Will Bowling, at Ramon and Will, where you follow the show on Twitter. So Missouri beat Auburn 23-17 in double overtime. Billy Napier's been fired at Florida. Ramon, is Hugh Freeze next?
From the conversation I'm hearing from Auburn, SEC, yes. They're not satisfied with him. Whatever they had as far as the fairy tale, that he was going to be this genius play caller and, leader of men. The leader of men part is probably still there, and I don't want to disparage that at all with, how strong he is in his faith. But in the SEC, those stadiums are like church. They want to be able to get up and scream hallelujah on a touchdown, and right now they can't do that. And Auburn. And it sucks to put it in that context, Will, but that's just how strong they believe in what they are. Now, he's going to have to end up playing the Iron Bowl at some point. And if that becomes very embarrassing for them, that conversation is going to get louder. We're watching now in the SEC, coaches not having the time, fans being upset, because here's the other part of it. Now, you come in with all of this hype. That's just the way it's always been. But directly, fans and donors and boosters and all people are also putting their hard-earned dollars into these rosters. We're hearing about how competitive you're supposed to be because you've done this in the portal. Well, if we've done this in the portal and you've got this recruiting class and you've had a few of them at this point, it sucks to be on the back end of a 3-4 season when Auburn has the type of history and Hugh Freeze is supposed to be the type of guy to lead them to the promised land. It's not looking very promising.
Auburn has lost 4 games in a row to 4 ranked teams: Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia, and Missouri. Jackson Arnold, the quarterback, has thrown for more than 207 yards once when he threw for 220 against Oklahoma. He's not thrown for more than 220 yards in his last 5 games, which includes a game against South Alabama, where he threw for 142. His only time over 250 yards this season was against Ball State. He threw for 251. Hugh Freeze is victim of what a lot of NFL coaches and GMs are, the I can fix him syndrome. He got quarterback wrong. It's that simple. With all of the success stories at quarterback in college football, let me just name you 2, and they played in week 1. Joey Aguilar and Steve Angeli got to their programs after spring practice was over. And when they were healthy, Steve Angeli at least, Joey Aguilar still healthy, have been exceptional. Jackson Arnold was there for the spring. Jackson Arnold was Hugh Freeze's pick. They had the choice of a lot of great quarterbacks that teams like Tennessee and Syracuse did not. Tennessee and Syracuse had to just go get who was available. How is Jackson Arnold this bad? In a Hugh Freeze system with those wide receivers, an offensive line that I know has been disappointing, but still has some decent players. I mean, it is unbelievable to me how wrong Auburn and Hugh Freeze got the quarterback decision.
It's even funnier, too, because I was listening to somebody talk this weekend. I was driving back with Brad Willis, and the conversation was on ESPN. Auburn has the 2 best wide receivers in college football, and nobody knows that.
Yeah.
Their ability to recruit, their ability to hit the portal the way they did, legitimately was the conversation. They have the 2 best wide receivers in the SEC, and nobody knows that to be the case. And here's the other part of it, too, before I go into the Jackson Arnold conversation. For a guy as veteran as he is, has been in multiple destinations right now, too, and also getting benched at his last location over halfway through the season. He's only got 1,190 yards. Okay, cool, whatever. You incorporate other stuff that goes into that. Situational, you can have a low amount of yards and still score. But 5 touchdowns on the season and 1 interception. And I'm not even mad. It's the 5 touchdowns.
He threw the 1 pick for the first time this past weekend.
We're halfway through the season and you only got 5 passing touchdowns?
I mean, the 1 pick is also just because he doesn't throw the ball enough. Takes too many hits, takes too many sacks. He doesn't get rid of it.
So, the question of what Jackson Arnold is and why is he this way with Hugh Freeze? One, I think Hugh Freeze's control. Go back to the summer report that he wanted to craft a practice that was easy for his quarterback. Right. You remember that one?
This is why.
This is why right here. And not only just that, after a certain point, players know, what they are through you sometimes. Jackson Arnold probably doesn't feel that confidence. He probably didn't feel it under Brent Venables also at Oklahoma. And he's probably put himself in a box of just being mediocre himself through outside parts of his game. And what I mean by that is this. Why would you ask me just dink and dunk when you know I have an arm strong enough to go down the field?
Right.
And you've handcuffed him. Like, I think the same thing professionally has happened for a guy like Tua in a different way. Like, Tua can't get rid of the football. The decisions that he's making, you didn't see that in his first time starting at Alabama. What has happened? Either he's thought too high of himself or too low. And at this point, I think Jackson Arnold's in a position to where just psychologically as a football player, as a quarterback, he don't trust anything that he's going to do. And Hugh Freeze isn't allowing him to do other things to get him outside of that box. It's a lot of control, it seems to me, with how Hugh Freeze goes about his baby, and that's the offense.
Yeah, Auburn is having year one problems in the year that is not year one.
No.
It's year three for Hugh Freeze. And you don't really get 3 years to slowly just ramp things up anymore because considering the roster building rules that you have at your disposal, you can build a winner in 2 seasons. You can build a winner in 1 season if you get it right enough. I mean, again, look at Kurt Cignetti and what he's done in Indiana. What's stopping Auburn, who has so many resources and Yellowwood money and used to be Under Armour money, but there's still plenty of Yellowwood money, to go get this right? I mean, Hugh Freeze put playoff expectations on this team.
Yeah, he did.
And rightfully so. Defensively, they've lived up to those expectations. Offensively, they have not. And that starts with his decision to handpick Jackson Arnold out of the portal. So now we enter this weird middle ground of you probably know Hugh Freeze is going to get fired, but you can't really do it now unless you really want to act like you're Pat Kraft and Penn State and kind of the way they did the inevitable with James Franklin really quickly. Right. I don't think Auburn is going to do that. And so it's down to Hugh Freeze and Auburn to save everything, save his job, his plan for the team and program over the course of the end of this season. And they've got some tough games left. They still got to play Vanderbilt and Alabama.
You know what's even more worrisome about what this offense has presented too? Just looking back at our Pick 6 preview that we had earlier in the preseason, is they had 3 returning starters on the offensive line.
Yeah.
He also went out and recruited 2 4-star transfers.
Eric Singleton and Horatio Fields.
Yes. And for the life of me, you've got the protection, you've got the players, you got the like everything that he could have asked for in a team was delivered to him.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're watching 2 different arrows be at play here in a different play. You mentioned like teams can get it together within 2 years, and he's yet to do that. Like the era that we're in right now in SEC football with the pressure of everybody winning, Clark Lee pushing the gas on a lot of people, watching Missouri be that good too, is I feel like this was the mid-2000s when Urban and Nick Saban came into the SEC. Fan bases want that. And as legendary as Hugh Freeze was at Ole Miss and, you know, the mystery around what he could be as a coach and how he can win against Alabama from time to time, like you're no longer given that grace. Sarkisian's going through the same thing in Texas right now.
Right. It's interesting with Auburn, if you look at the 247 Sports Talent Composite, which puts together your recruiting classes and basically gives you a roster grade. Auburn has the 13th best and most talented roster in college football. This is not a bad football team. Honestly, it's similar to what Oklahoma was last year. It's a decent football team that is just so bad at quarterback, it's holding back the progress that you've made in other areas of your program. Right. And the crazy thing is, it's the same quarterback that held Oklahoma back. It's Jackson Arnold. And I don't want to be too personal towards him. It's not all his fault.
Right.
Hugh Freeze is ultimately the one responsible and accountable for this because he's the one that believed in him and picked him. So it's not Jackson Arnold's fault. Like Pam says in the office, when you put a kid behind the wheel of a car, you don't blame the kid. You blame the parent or the adult that put them in the front seat.
Yep.
So anyway, I think it's a really interesting situation. I think that Hugh Freeze was brought there largely in part because he could beat Nick Saban, and then Nick Saban retired. So what exactly are you there to do now? What exactly do you do here, Hugh?
Yeah, nobody knows at this point. Be mad, make excuses at this point.
He makes a lot of excuses. No doubt. To the point, you talk about the two wide receivers that are the best in football that no one knows who they are. Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton are those two guys.
Yeah.
Good players.
Do you know about them?
Wish a quarterback could get them the ball if I was Auburn. On the Missouri perspective, credit to them for grinding out a win on the road. I just think this year in the SEC, as balanced as the talent is, you just never are ever disappointed in a win on the road in the Southeastern Conference.
No,
I don't care
right.
who it is. We're about to talk about Texas and Kentucky and the way that game went. I don't care if it's Kentucky, who right now is pretty clearly the 16th best team in the conference. You do not turn your nose up at a road win in the SEC at all, ever, and especially not this year.
No, absolutely not. And at night games, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No doubt.
No.
Let's talk about Texas, Kentucky, 16-13, another overtime game. Michael Taffe said yesterday, the talented safety for Texas, something to the effect of, you don't realize how hard it is to win on the road in the SEC? He's like, look at the Georgia national championship team and go look at how much they struggled to win in Lexington. Now, granted, this is not that Kentucky team. This team is not nearly as good as that team that kept it close with Georgia in Lexington. However, this is still a very poor performance by Texas. How worried are you about them? And how worrying is this game? Because while we just said that, yes, you're always happy with a win on the road of the SEC, Kentucky does kind of feel like they're in a league of their own this season.
They are. How worried am I about Texas, you say? Or this? Yeah, Texas.
Yeah.
I was looking at something about Texas. It goes down to the same thing too, Will, that Hugh Freeze is dealing with. Not that he picked the wrong quarterback. It's just that he didn't get his quarterback as ready as he should have. I think Sarkisian looked at what Arch Manning is as a prospect and said, "Oh, he gonna have it. I'm gonna turn on the tape, and he's just gonna deliver." And I feel like sometimes when you have these supposedly phenom types of recruits and athletes, coaches don't want to break them. And what I mean by that is you don't want to fuss at them. You don't want to yell at them. And Arch probably needs that. Arch probably needed a coach that was going to direct him and tell him what to do, and you thought that the talent was going to come out. And there's something that is attached to your title, and that is actually coaching players up. So they're asking him now in Austin, Texas, is he, Steve Sarkisian, going to give up play calling duties? And he's got to fight for the right to say, no, I came here because I'm an offensive play caller. Like the defense, to your point, has been good. The defense still in a game against Kentucky and almost everybody else this season has held their own. Their issue is Steve Sarkisian's, I think, belief in what Arch was going to do, and it burned him. Here he is again, under 50% completion percentage against Kentucky. And the other side of this, too, is Cutter Bowley, the quarterback for Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Also, dual threat guy, was able to run for he ended up running for 45 yards in the touchdown this past game. Sure. He has no balance and he has no attack to keep up with the teams like he did last year when he had Quinn Ewers. Say what you want to about Quinn. Quinn could get it done, right? As far as being able to deliver the football when he needed to. Arch right now can't do it. And the fact that he either has no cohesion in the way he's calling the plays or Arch simply isn't ready is still problematic, because if that was the case, there's one calling card that he has as the Texas play caller and head coach, and that's a running game, and that's not even working right now.
No, it's not. It is not. It's a little jarring how bad Texas is at offense. I mean, the fact that they are 11th in the SEC in scoring offense this season is very strange. And to me, it's as much about the offensive line as it is Arch Manning. I mean, 7th in sacks allowed in the SEC. They've given up 13 sacks this season. Considering the talent, just raw star rating talent that they have in that offensive line, it's just got to be better.
It does.
I do think it's interesting on the Sarkisian thing. He did talk about that yesterday and say he will not give up play calling duties. He said, that's why I got hired.
Yeah, I
was a really good OC. I'm always going to tap into the strengths that I have. And I think being a play caller on offense is one of my strengths. Some may disagree. That's okay. You know who gave up play calling duties and immediately won a national championship?
What was that?
Ryan Day. Brought in Chip Kelly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think that's interesting because Ryan Day gave up play calling duties after 5 seasons as head coach / OC. They won the national title the next year.
Yeah.
Guess what year Steve Sarkisian is in at Texas? It's year 5.
He's been there that long?
He has.
Jeez.
He has been there that long. I don't know. They have been similarly to Ohio State pre-2024 playoff run. They've been close, but not quite there. In a lot of ways, he is now the new Ryan Day.
Yeah, he is.
Honestly, he'll beat 10 teams a year, get you to the playoff, satisfy most of the fans, but not all of them, because he's still missing that ring.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting looking at what this offense is. So I think these questions are fair for him. Third down efficiency for Texas, they're only at 38.1% completion percentage. Their passing completion, as far as Arch Manning is concerned, he's just over 60%. Well, they are just as a team.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about his offensive play calling. Is it him or is it the Jimmys and Joes that he thought were good?
I think it's all of it. I mean, I think as bad as they are on offense, you have to look at everything, right?
That's
13th in passing offense in the SEC this year. The Texas Longhorns. I mean, that's just... It is weird. It is really weird how Arch Manning has looked this year. I think he is improving, but I also do not think that it's all really his fault. I think those receivers can't get separation the way Matthew Golden and Isaiah Bond could last year. And I think that offensive line has given Arch Manning no help. No help at all.
The same thing you said about what the running game is supposed to be like. Ryan Wingo.
Mm-hmm.
Was he the number one? He was number 2 or 3.
He was one of the top receivers in the country coming out of high school.
That's the point that's mostly confusing about it. Like, and I know they lost a lot of players to the NFL draft.
That's
they
right.
do. But here's the part about that. Yeah, exactly. You always mention this too, and I got to give you credit on this. You always say it's not the year that you think you're going to get it. It's the year after, right? Like, is this Texas's, hey, lad, like 2025 was supposed to be the Arch Manning breakout and Texas to the national championship because of Arch. I think when you look at Sarkisian's off season, he let it slip on coaching. He let it slip on discipline. Because when you watch them, it doesn't look as if they were trained hard. You know, it was one thing I feel like Kalen DeBoer adjusted to from last year to this year, that he said he was going to some of the Nick Saban ways of coaching. Essentially is what he ended up doing. It was a little bit harder for them. He was a little bit more raw on the idea that, look, I'm not a soft guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Sarkisian thought it was Hollywood for him this year. And Arch has just been disappointing. You can't overstate that enough. Arch has been disappointing this year.
I agree. According to 247 Sports, Texas has 14 5-stars on its roster. That is tied with Alabama for the most in college football. 4th best roster in the country, according to 247 Sports.
You know what's alarming about that part of it, though, too? Their team stats. Arch Manning is the leading touchdown getter for them on the ground. Running the football.
Yeah.
He's the second leading rusher at the University of Texas. At the University of Texas, where running backs come at a premium, your quarterback, not named Vince Young, is the second leading rusher.
Yeah.
That's coaching malpractice, though, at this point.
Sure. Question on Twitter from Flu Vol says, when will Heupel get a new defensive coordinator? When Tim Banks takes a head coaching job?
Yeah.
Tennessee doesn't need a new defensive coordinator, do they?
To give a real answer, I mean, more in-depth answer on that one, it's going to be hard finding a guy that is going to be known as the guy to come be a defensive coordinator for the Vols. I just wanted to put that out there real quick. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's hard as a defensive coordinator to watch an offense go out there and with a sped-up offense do quick 3 and out, and then you got to send your guys back out there when they have no proper time to get rested up. Yeah. If you are a tired defense, you're going to give up yards.
Well, and 2, I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses, but Tim Banks does not have either of his top 2 corners.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Ricky Gibson and Jerron McCoy have not played. I mean, I don't think that's a defensive coordinator problem. I think you got really unlucky with 2 injuries at one position to premium talents that you really needed to be healthy this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say that Tim Banks isn't culpable for some of the defensive problems, and I think they play a lot of cushion sometimes in 3rd and short or 3rd and medium where they are given too much off the ball. But, I mean, with the way this defensive line is played, with your inexperience at safety, with your lack of mobility and athleticism at linebacker outside of Arion Carter, and with who you have at defensive back outside of your top 2 corners, I don't really know what we expect of Tim Banks. I thought the defense was planned well enough to win the game on Saturday.
I thought so, too. Now, imagine this to your point about Ricky Gibson and Jamar McCoy actually being in. What if those are your two starters and you also got Colton Hood playing somewhere in the slot? Like, that's a different conversation then.
And then all of a sudden, Boo Carter struggles this year aren't as big of an issue.
Exactly.
Because you got Colton Hood at the slot. But he can't play slot because you need him on the outside.
And so, to your point, not excuse making, but I also want to get back to the original point I made. It's going to be hard pulling a big-time defensive coordinator when you have an offense that moves that fast.
I think the whole fired Tim Banks movement is crazy.
I ain't saying he the best you got or the best that's out there. But
I think he's pretty dang good.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty dang good. 615-737-1045. More SEC Week 8 reaction. Oklahoma, South Carolina. Ugly. Talk about it next.
Is your concrete in need of repair? Maybe your sidewalk is shifting on you. Your driveway is cracked and sinking, or your porch steps have moved. Shifting concrete can create a dangerous situation, just a trip hazard around your home. I'm here to tell you, it's just also a big eyesore. Shimon Foster, and whatever's going on with your concrete, call United Structural Systems. Ask them about their polyurethane foam injections. You've heard about USS for a long time. It's the same company that's provided superior foundation repair and waterproofing to Middle Tennessee since 1994. Well, they can also fix your sunken or settling concrete. USS uses polyurethane foam injections to lift and repair your sinking concrete in a matter of minutes. Lifted concrete can be walked on immediately or even driven on after about 30 minutes. So, don't go through that long, expensive process of ripping out and replacing concrete. Reach out to the company I trust for a free estimate, man. That's United Structural System. You can go at their website at USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com or call them 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems.
Ramona Willow, 104.5 The Zone, fueled by Scooter's Coffee, wrapping up hour number 1 this morning. Nick Suss of the Tennessean joining us in about a half hour. Your phone calls at 615-737-1045. Oklahoma beat South Carolina 26-7 on Saturday. John Mateer was not overly impressive, but did lead touchdown drives of 75 and 92 yards. John Mateer threw for 150 and a touchdown. The Oklahoma defense sacked Lenore Sellers 6 times. Ramon, it's pretty sad watching South Carolina play offense.
It is.
Because you've got a Cam Newton kind of playmaker. I'm not saying he's that good. I'm saying he is a Cam Newton type of athlete and playmaker who has just been totally wasted behind an offensive line that has struggled and, in my opinion, an offensive play caller who is just really uninspiring in Mike Shula.
The entirety of what they have going offensively is uninspiring. As you mentioned, Lenore Sellers is that type. I think some still hold him up as a top 3 quarterback coming out in this next class, or at least have the ability to prove that he is as far as his combine metrics go and how he throws the football. He can throw it. He can run it. He seemed like he's good between the ears also. But you can't see it in totality unless you're playing against a bad team. Or if they find protection. Their offensive line coach has already been fired for the season. That tells you a lot about what their woes and issues are, too. But the other part is watching them play football. Other than like the first quarters of their games, they seem to me as they're a team that understands their coach is on the hot seat or he's about to leave regardless.
See, I don't know about that part, though, because I don't know if Shane Beamer wants to follow Dad's legacy at Virginia Tech. My inclination is he doesn't want to do that. But does South Carolina's lack of resources for him force him to do that? That, I think, is a separate conversation because I don't think Shane Beamer's on the hot seat, considering the expectations of South Carolina as a football program. But if they don't give him more to work with, and I mean a better staff to be able to hire, to be honest with you, I think he might consider leaving on his own accord.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't think that means he's on the hot seat, though, is what I'm saying.
You don't think this season plays a part into how South Carolina views him? Because he also came in it with a little bit more certainty, too. Defensively, they have the players. You've got a quarterback, and you vastly underperform, whether it be because of your staff or how you're getting them together. I was trying to look for he and Brad Crawford had a little bit of an exchange
they did.
This past weekend, in which you had Shane Beamer say, no, I ain't talked to him in like 15 years or whatever the case may have been.
2 years, maybe?
2 years.
Yeah.
But this conversation getting louder and louder. To your point, I see him in a position where he exits himself before he takes the knife from them. South Carolina's in purgatory, I feel like, as a program, always. They either are really good, and that means like 9 wins for them.
Which for them is great.
It's great.
Yeah.
But the players, the issue that he has, and maybe it's just you just at your ceiling at all costs.
Yeah.
But like the amount of draft picks that South Carolina puts in the NFL yearly is something that raises your eyebrow of why that ceiling is so low. And I don't know if Shane Beamer's a guy that initially essentially want to get them to the promised land, but I don't know what their draw is.
Yeah,
as a program.
They don't have an identity outside of defense and special teams. I mean, offensively, their identity has been bad play callers. I mean, you look down the list of the guys that they have had as offensive coordinators, and no one really totally impresses you.
Nobody.
Between Marcus Satterfield, Dowell Loggins, and now Mike Shula. To me, when a coach struggles with that many staff hires, one of two things are happening. Either that coach is way too invested in his friends, which I don't think is the case with Shane, or, and what I think is really happening in South Carolina, the university isn't giving him the resources to go hire good coordinators. That's what I think is going on here. And South Carolina needs to understand that they better give Shane Beamer the money and the resources that he needs to hire a legitimate SEC staff if they want to be taken seriously as a legitimate SEC program. Mike Shula, Ramon?
Yeah.
It just, nothing about Mike Shula ever really impressed me. And that's why I didn't take them totally seriously coming into the season. to be honest with you. It's no disrespect to Mike Shula, but like he is what he is at this point, right? Like you've got programs like, I mean, I know they're not the best example, but like Penn State this year when they needed to surround James Franklin with more, went and got him Jim Knowles to be the defensive coordinator.
Right.
Then all of a sudden when Jim Knowles doesn't work, that's when you can talk about hot seat. Because then it's like, all right, buddy, we've given you everything you need. We gave you NIL. We gave you a 5-star coordinator, and it's still not working. We'll see you. Shane Beamer's not at that point because he's not, I don't think, been given a legitimate staff to work with.
What's laughable is you speak about this offense and how bad it is. Third down efficiency is always a huge part because that keeps you on the field. 33% on the season.
It's crazy.
And how
they
desperate,
cannot stay on the field and sustain drives.
How desperate it is. Just throw a number out there. How many fourth down attempts do you think they've had? I think this is a ton.
7 or 8?
20.
Goodness. Wow. Yeah, that is a ton.
That's a ton. And they're 10 for 20 on fourth down.
Wow.
The Oklahoma game, they were in the tight red zone and attempted to run a draw play with Lenore Seller. And he didn't score right there, so that was another one. Like 20 fourth down attempts. I love the aggressiveness of it, but that's just hustling backwards. And yes, the offensive line is a part of it. They're trying to build through it and keep some of those South Carolina prospects into the state. The Vols lost, I think, a contested one between them, Ohio State, and South Carolina. And the alleged number that they gave for a guard, they paid him like a tackle.
Yeah.
That's
Darius Gray.
Darius Gray is a prospect.
Yeah.
But like you shouldn't have to go to those extremes to try to be competitive in the trenches.
They get Alabama this week. They come to Columbia. South Carolina almost pulled off that upset in Tuscaloosa last year. I think Shane Beamer created a lot of goodwill with the university and the fan base based off of being a playoff contender last year. But it does feel like he's undone a lot of that this year. The interesting thing, though, about Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, 19-3 in his career against top 25 teams, 7-4 against unranked teams with 4 losses is a double-digit favorite. Alabama is a double-digit favorite against South Carolina, 13.5, what they're being given. Just a point of observation.
Yeah.
It would be a very South Carolina and Shane Beamer thing to do, despite all these struggles, just go beat Alabama at home this weekend. 615-737-1045. Mike McCoy talked yesterday, Titans interim head coach, about the Titans' best players playing their best. How many of them are? We'll talk about that next. Is your home's heating system ready for the cold weather of winter? Well, available 24/7, Lee Company is here to help. You may have found out the answer on this, too, by the way. It's been in the 40s and low 50s. Waking up the past couple of days here in Middle Tennessee, and with the turn of the season officially here, you got to get in on this. You got to get Lee Company out there to make sure your heating system is ready. Lee Company's professional team of technicians are now performing heating tune-ups and seasonal maintenance to keep your home running efficiently this fall and winter. Contact Lee Company's award-winning team online at leecompany.com to keep your home cozy for the cold months ahead. That's leecompany.com for all of your heating needs. And you trust the folks that have been in business for over 80 years here in Middle Tennessee. 615-567-1000 is the number to call, or online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need.
7:01, good morning, live from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. In Tennessee Titans news, per ESPN's Adam Schefter yesterday, wide receiver Tyler Lockett has asked for and received his release from the Tennessee Titans. Lockett signed a one-year, $4 million deal this offseason, and he has 10 catches for 70 yards in 7 games this season. He is expected to be free to sign with another team after 3 o'clock Central on Wednesday afternoon. In other NFL news, defensive Brandon Graham is making his NFL return, as he announced yesterday that he's coming out of retirement to rejoin the Philadelphia Eagles this week. Graham will return for his 16th NFL season in Philadelphia. Also, Monday Night Football doubleheader last night as the Detroit Lions handle the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24-9. Jahmyr Gibbs with 136 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns in the win. But for the Bucs, they lose more than the game as wide receiver Mike Evans suffered a clavicle fracture and will miss mostly toward the end of the season, per team sources. In the nightcap, despite 4 turnovers, the Seattle Seahawks beat the Houston Texans 27-19. Jackson Smith-Njigba with his 5th 100-yard receiving game of the year, and he also added a touchdown in the win. And in the MLB, the Toronto Blue Jays, they are headed to the World Series thanks to a go-ahead 3-run home run by George Springer in the 7th inning, which ends a thrilling 7-game series. The Blue Jays will now face the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series with Game 1 in Toronto this Friday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Off and running 7 a.m. in Nashville. Hour 2 of Ramon and Will, fueled by Scooter's Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. 615-737-1045. How you jump in? Nick Suss, the Tennessean, coming up in 15 minutes. Your thoughts, musings, quandaries, everything in between in the Evan and Bake chat on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Best players playing their best is a big topic of discussion for the Tennessee Titans. And interim head coach Mike McCoy was asked about it yesterday in his Monday press conference. Here is the interim head coach of the Titans. Are Titans players that are your best players playing their best?
Well, like we talked about, last week, we're gonna hold everybody accountable, and I think players, coaches, that's one thing we're always going to do. We're going to be brutally honest with players. Everybody. It's not just your best players. It's everybody. You're gonna talk to players and say, hey, this is the way we got to play. They're all going out there trying to do what they're supposed to do.
What does holding him accountable besides conversation look like in how you run things?
Well, like after every practice, after every game. You talk to every player, every coach. As a head coach, you address the team. As a coordinator, you address, one of the 3 phases. And then as position coaches, you address your players. And our job is to, we're never criticizing the player. What we're doing, we're coaching the players. So we're trying to get the players to play to the best of their abilities week in and week out and help them be successful. That's what coaching is. And you can be hard on players, and then there's the opportunity at times you love them up. There's a lot of really good plays too. So you always got to, as players, you always tell them this. We're not criticizing. We're not at all. It starts with us as coaches. But the most important thing is we're trying to help you and help our football team become the best team we possibly can. You be the best player. So that's what we're going to do. And listen, there's going to be some mistakes. We're playing some good football teams, some really good players. You're going to get beat from time to time. You're going to get beat. That's part of the game. Okay, it's just a matter of doing all the little things right. Okay, so that we're all on the same page doing things.
It's Titans interim head coach Mike McCoy speaking yesterday. Ramon, who not named Jeffrey Simmons are the Titans' best players who you feel like are playing their best this season?
Playing their best? Cedric Gray.
Okay.
Cedric Gray, Peter Skoronski.
You think Cedric Gray is one of the Titans' best players already?
Yes.
It's fair.
Results are what they are at this point, though,
50 tackles in the last 4 games. I'd say he's earned it.
Yeah, he is. I would even say Draymond Jones has been splashy.
Sacks in the last 2 games.
Yeah, he's been splashy lately.
But it kind of took him a while to rev up. He's starting to look like what we hoped he would in week 1.
Alec Ayumanor?
I don't know about Alec at this point.
He's been
Alec had another drop on Sunday.
That's true. But that's about it. You got about 3-4 players, Will.
I would throw Peter Skronsky in there as well.
I did. I said Peter.
Okay.
Jeff, Cedric, Peter, and Draymond as of late. One that's sneaky in there, but he don't get much praise. I think Sebastian Joseph Day. Also, he's been a steady part of this too. I think he had a couple tackles at his position. He just don't get highlighted like that. Sebastian Joseph Day falls into that underlying world of like, oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
and I hate that for him because he's a good player. But those 4 are the ones I can only point to at this point, Will.
Sure. I think one of the challenges for the Titans offensive line has been right guard over the last 2 weeks.
Boy.
To be honest with you, I'm interested how much you see this pop up on film. Talking about best players playing their best, Kevin Zeitler was seen as a veteran stabilizing presence at the right guard position to be one of the best members of not only the offensive line, but the offense. Ramone's given up 3 sacks in the last 2 weeks, according to Pro Football Focus. He had just gone through a 12-year span from 2013 to 2024 where he never gave up more than 3 sacks in a single season. He gave up 5 last year, Kevin Zeitler. He is on his way to giving up at least that this year with 3 sacks allowed through, a third of the season.
When it hits you, Father Time, it hits you like a brick.
Which also brings up the point that the Titans are going to have to address right guard again, probably this upcoming offseason, in addition to deciding if they want to hit the eject button on their left tackle and their right tackle. And do you need another center? The Titans' offensive line issues are not going away, Ramon. Many of them were just put off a year. And others look to be more concerning than you hoped they would be at this point of the season.
I would say way more concerning, as you just stated. I showed you a rep a second ago when we were watching. I'm still watching this Titans tape. Just to give more context of what's happening. How is it not working for you? You remember, if you guys can go back to the game as fans, the sack that Harold Landry got later in the game? Mm-hmm. It was on a TE. What that is a defensive tackle, defensive end. D tackle goes wide. Defensive end comes over the top.
Yeah, the outside defensive end is then rushing over the guard. In between the guard and the center, up the middle.
There we go.
And then the outside defender before the snap is rushing outside against the tackle. They switch after the play starts.
That play was that same play was on Cam, almost fake pitch to Chig when he just tucked it and took the sack right there. That's the exact same play. They came back to that again later in the game, and Harold actually got the sack on that one.
Harold Landry.
Yes. Watching Zeitler and J.C. Latham looks bad. And ain't no other way to say it. I would be able to say this to them. There's no communication. There's no cohesion on the technique that they're going to use. It was a double barrel set, which means there were 2 linebackers in the A gap. And they had a 3 technique and a wide 5. That was what Harold was. The linebackers dropped. It was supposed to be Kevin Zeitler throwing the defensive tackle out to J.C. Latham. J.C. Latham, come take the D tackle, and Zeitler picks up Harold. He was nowhere near him.
How much of the issues on the right side of the line again this year, Ramon, are communication issues, and how much of them are just guys that are physically losing matchups that are overmatched?
That one's communication because you're supposed to see that. And I also question Bill Callahan on this one too. Why do you have them setting out? Remember, we brought this up in training camp. These dudes are setting out. They should be setting vertical. Right? Like, what I mean by vertical is literally vertical, like walking backwards, straight backwards, especially when you're presented with a pressure front that the Patriots and others have. And guess who runs this exact same pressure? Indianapolis Colts. They're going to run this double barrel look. And DeForest Buckner's going to come around for a sack if they don't clean this up.
Double barrel meaning you put both your inside linebackers over the center.
Over the A gap.
Over the left and right shoulders of the center. You have inside linebackers standing there 1 yard away from the quarterback like they're about to blitz.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they blitz, sometimes they drop back. It makes it hard for a quarterback to know who's blitzing and who is not.
Now, Tajay Spears was also in the backfield. Mm-hmm. He saw his linebacker drop. He looked left. That wasn't his responsibility because that tells me that the center also went left also, and that he expected pressure off the quarterback's left side. What I'm telling you is this. When I say Father Time gets you, looking at how fast you had to watch Zeitler try to shove over the D tackle, he couldn't recover. Not even a little bit. Watching J.C. Latham also, I'm questioning, why are you setting out? Why? This isn't a one-on-one league. This is a scheme you up league. This is a scheme you up pressure.
Right.
J.C. couldn't even get back inside right there. I'm not calling J.C. a guard because I don't know how hurt he is, what that hip is doing to him right now with his inability to move right now. But we also heard the conversation of how much weight he dropped and how mobile that made him.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing that mobility right now. That is highly questionable. So as sketchy as Cam's play has been, there's more problems that are underlying to this team offensively.
Sure.
That absolutely need to be addressed. But that was one facet of this team offensively that you expected because of what we were told about the reputation of Bill Callahan was supposed to be good, and it's not.
Let's go to Thomas in Nashville, 615-737-1045. Hey, Thomas.
Hey, what's going on?
Morning.
So a few players that I think that is playing good that I don't think you all mentioned was DK, and an underrated one is Xavier Woods, and that's it. I hang up.
Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, the topic was more your best players playing their best, because that's what Mike McCoy talked about yesterday. But, yeah, I think Chimere DK is playing well.
Yeah, Xavier Woods graded out well according to PFF. Oh, he's almost at a 7. He's in the green. If we're looking at that grade, for sure.
Coming up, Nick Suss of the Tennessean joins us. What?
You had nothing.
What?
Nothing.
Well, I have a hard time using PFF grades as primary stats.
Yes, he's just like me.
Because what does a 73 mean? What does that mean? If you are a 67? What does that mean?
I'm gonna listen to Blaine and Zach later, so that Blaine can tell me if he is or not, because Blaine knows that position intimately. Safety.
I like the more nuanced stats to PFF of missed tackle rate or sacks allowed, which again, that's not even an exact science, or pressure rate. Like as specific as PFF gets, I think they do some good things. But just giving an arbitrary number to a player, I'm not going to pretend to know what that means.
Because I think about the Stanley from The Office. You got to listen to the pauses.
Yeah.
I was listening to your pauses right there.
That's right. Nick Suss of the Tennessee and Talks Titans with us coming up next. What's up? Will Bowling here, telling you about my new obsession, Daisy French Onion Dip. It is my guilty pleasure during football season, having dips with chips, wings, and veggies while watching the big game. And now Daisy's come out with this delicious French onion dip and a ranch dip that are a total game changer. They are as delicious as a homemade dip, and they're made with real herbs and spices, plus other ingredients you'd find in your own kitchen. Make sure you go to the grocery store and try some. The best part, they're at grocery stores all around you. Check it out. That's Daisy French Onion Dip and Daisy Ranch Dip at a grocery store near you. Ramona Will at 104.5 The Zone is fueled by Scooter's Coffee. With Ramon Foster, I'm Will Bowling. Talking Titans this morning. And pleased to be joined by our good friend Nick Suss of the Tennessean, breaking down Titans and Patriots, breaking down just where we go next with the Tennessee Titans as they get ready for the Indianapolis Colts. Nick, good morning. How are you?
I am all right and regular. How are you guys?
We are good. We are trying to make sense of kind of the line right between fair criticism of Cam Ward and overreactions, right? And it feels like social media gives you a lot of both, and a lot of he's a bust, and then a lot of, he can do no wrong. Where is the balance, Nick, for you coming out of Titans and Patriots? How do you separate the good from the second half and evaluate, just kind of taking stock of where Cam Ward is relative to expectations and what you expected coming into the season at this point?
I think that expectations are very, very dangerous here because I don't think that there was a standard expectation for Cam Ward. I think that sometimes you have a quarterback who everybody agrees is a project. I think sometimes you have a quarterback who everybody agrees is pro-ready. And then you have Cam, who I don't think that people necessarily agreed on what they expected. So I think there are some people who kind of thought this was going to be a journey, thought this was going to be a process, thought this was going to take 10 weeks, 12 weeks before it started to look regular. And I'm betting those people are alarmed but not discouraged. Then you had some people who thought Cam Ward was Patrick Mahomes. And so I was not in that camp. I will admit that. But if you came into the season thinking that this guy was going to turn everything around, that he was a single-handed playmaker who was going to be able to fix things just with his own creating ability, the fact that that hasn't been the case is discouraging. Now, I'll say I put out a survey yesterday, and I got a bunch of emails and got a bunch of tweets, and one of the questions I asked was scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being extremely discouraged, 5 being extremely encouraged. How are you feeling about Cam's development through 7 games? And the most common answer was probably 3 or 4. People are still, despite the vitriol you're seeing from the loudest people, I think people are still average to above average encouraged by Cam. I don't think people are out on his future, but you look at the fact that he's open hand fumbling, that's going to be notable. You look at the fact that he is overthrowing certain passes or going behind on certain passes and not setting his feet and not looking at some check downs and all of those things. That's discouraging to a degree, but it's also a rookie quarterback learning the game. So again, no one should be out on Cam Ward. But if you came into this thinking he's going to do what Jaden Daniels did, he's going to do what CJ Stroud did and be automatic difference maker as a rookie, I can understand not thinking this matches what you thought.
Nick Suss of the Tennessean, our guest this morning on Ramon and Will. Nick, I know you wrote at the Tennessean and at Tennessean.com about some of the incremental changes the Titans made offensively under Mike McCoy. What stood out to you about what was different and how he tried to set Cam Ward up for success?
So the reason I wrote that is because nothing stood out to me as different. It looked almost identical to me, and that's because I am not a coach. I am not a former player. I stopped playing football in high school. So I looked at it and I thought this is the same football team. And I'm sure a lot of people thought that too. And you can look at some of the peripheral stuff and say, okay, penalties were down. That is clearly different. You can look at the peripheral stuff and say they probably used a little bit more. I don't even know what to say. There were some things that were different statistically. But when you ask players, when you ask coaches, hey, what was different about this game? They'll kind of come back and say, nothing really. Nothing fundamentally. It's hard to change a team in 6 days. So you look at that early start. You look at everybody saying, oh, well, they finally got out to a hot start. I asked a bunch of players, well, what was different about the start? And they said, no, I mean, all these plays were in the playbook, and these were all things that we've been doing. It's just we were executing this time. Well, what enabled you to execute this time? Well, we were all connected. We all believed. We all had this conviction and this attitude that we were going to go out and win. And, well, how's that different than before? Well, I don't know, because the emphasis the entire offseason was about togetherness and connectivity and all of these things. I think what you kind of come to the conclusion of here is football is not as thoughtful on Sunday as people want to make it out to be. I've said this 100 times, and you guys can disagree. I truly don't care who disagrees with me. Unless you got a top 3 coach or a bottom 3 coach in the NFL, Sunday coaching probably doesn't matter all that much. Monday through Saturday, it matters a ton. And you got to set the game plan, and you got to have everything right, and you got to have your players prepared. But on Sunday, on game day, the players got to play. And the players played pretty well for a quarter and a half. And I'd honestly say they played pretty well in the fourth quarter, too, when the game was a little bit out of hand. But they had a bad third quarter. They had a really bad third quarter. And the end of the second quarter didn't go well. And the players got outplayed, and the Titans lost by 3 scores because of it. And is that on Mike McCoy? I don't think so. I think the game plan was solid. I think the Titans competed for a little while. But by that same token, that's why it's hard to blame everything universally on Brian Callahan. I mean, were the players unprepared? Were the game plans bad? All that stuff? I don't know, because what I get to see is Sunday, and what we all get to see is Sunday. And sometimes on Sundays, the players just don't play very well.
Nick Suss of the Tennessee.
I was going to say, Ramon, you look very sad because but this is all very legitimate and correct analysis, too.
It is, Nick. I just wrote in our YouTube chat, like, I get sadder and sadder listening to Nick talk right now because you're so right. You're so right.
Thank you.
I know. You're talking about you ain't played football since high school. Well, daggone. Like, you understand it is what I want to go to. So, God dang, Nick. So to ask another question then, was the change worth it?
That is totally a question of what do you believe about motivation? Because, like, we can get into 100 different arguments about why do players need to be motivated? What is the motivation of players? How do you salvage motivation? I think most people will agree a change needed to be made. Did it need to be made after week 6? Who the heck knows? That is really tough to say. But what are you going to change about a team in season? I don't think much structurally can change. You can make some trades, and I would not be shocked. I don't think any of us would be shocked if trades get made before the deadline in a couple of weeks here. But the team is the team, and the culture is the culture, and we can get into some big picture cultural rot stuff of why aren't the Titans the same culture they were 3-4 years ago, and I think it's a lot more complicated than who you fired. Did the change need to be made? A change was going to be made eventually. Yeah. A change needed to be made eventually. So I understand the why make it now argument. We're talking about a very micro analysis of this. Does a change being made help the Titans win games in weeks 7, 8, 9, 10 of this season? Because when's the bye week? I think the bye is week 10.
Yep.
Yeah. And so if you were theoretically waiting till the bye to make the change, yeah, are you going to be better off in these 3 weeks before the bye because you made the decision? Probably not. I don't know how much of a difference can be made just by removing one coach. Is it good to give your team the opportunity to play for somebody new, to try and see how growth and development can be upgraded under a new philosophy? All of that's good. Is it good to get your front office a head start on looking for the next coach? Sure, that's good as well. But at the micro level of, is this going to help the team win games? It's really, really hard to say that's the case.
You bring up the motivation word, man. I love the sitcom, the show, the series Mad Men, because Don Draper says it's about motivation. That's what the money's for. And I also think, like that's why players get upset when you mention money, because when you lose, the money don't matter, but it's supposed to, Nick. But in this moment, that check ain't going to hit you until oh, okay, that's why I did it for in the offseason. I went that far to say this, though, too. When you look at what this season has presented, Nick, if this season, I don't want to call it a wash because these are human bodies that are putting themselves at risk of playing this game. But what answers have been had for 2026 with this current squad?
That's a good question. I think that when I look at this team, let's talk about the touchdown pass Cam threw to Chim DK. It's one play in a sea of 60 or 70 offensive snaps, and it is not indicative of who the Titans are. But the three most important things that happened on that play were Cam made a really good throw, Gunnar Helm made a hell of a block on the perimeter, and Chim DK caught a touchdown pass. That kind of feels like what the goal for this season was to be competitive with players who are going to be better in the future than they are today. And the Titans have not been competitive by and large. And I believe that is a big reason why Brian Callahan is not here, if not the biggest reason from the front office perspective is I was told in the offseason that these Titans wanted to compete like the 21 Lions did, the team that I think went 3-14, but lost, I think, 7 games by 1 possession. And were always biting at people's ankles and showing their competitiveness, despite not being a fully fledged team yet, despite having a lot of young players who were on the rise. So if you look at those scenarios where you have rookies making big plays, you have second-year players making big plays, developmental projects who you think will be better in 27-28 than they are in 25-26, when those guys are making plays, I think that's the game, is that you've got players who you think will be cornerstone types who are being thrust early into situations they're maybe not fully prepared for, but they'll know how to be prepared for them when they are. If that is the upside, if that is the optimism, that you are throwing a bunch of players into the fire and they're going to be battle tested because of it, that's a good theory. The only problem is these guys got to develop. And development is so hard to see in the moment. It's something you look back on and say, oh, he's gotten better. But we don't see progress that linearly, unfortunately. So we just kind of have to take it at face value that these guys are good enough to get better, that they have the mental capacity to get better, that they have the work ethic to get better, and that the Titans are going to surround them with the right coaches and trainers and all of the things necessary to make sure they do, in fact, get better.
Nick Suss, the Tennessean, our guest, a great breakdown there, and I think a really good question as well, Ramon, and the way you framed it. Nick, in the short term, though, talking about some of those guys that are stepping up into new roles, and Chim DK being one of them, more of an opportunity there perhaps now without Tyler Lockett, who Schefter reports yesterday is going to be granted his release and requested and is going to get what he wants. Is Chim DK the main player that you feel like benefits from that role being made available? And I'll ask you the question that we are getting, and I'm sure you're getting hundreds of times a day, it feels, on social media. What about Xavier Restrepo? Is this finally the move that allows Xavier Restrepo an opportunity to get on the field for the Tennessee Titans?
It's a move that puts him closer. It's not the move that puts him on the field. I've known, and I think anyone who was out at practice, which includes you guys, have known for a while now that Xavier Restrepo was behind Prochet and Kinsey on the pecking order. Will that change because they are trying to see younger players? It's entirely possible. Is elevating Xavier Restrepo going to fix anything? Probably not. I mean, you look at this team's options in the slot, and I still don't necessarily think if he gets elevated to the game day roster, he's going to play that much in the slot. And then you're looking at him on special teams where he is a limited player because his athletic reach isn't necessarily as high as some of the other receivers on the team. None of that's to say he can't play. It'd be fun to see him try. It'd be fun to see what him and Cam can cook up. But I also think it's really important to acknowledge that Cam and Restrepo talk about their relationship being forged by having a short time to figure each other out, having all that time to work together, all those morning practices forged in just about 7 months before that Miami season started. Cam had the same amount of time up to now with DK, with Helm, with Manor, with all of his fellow rookies, as well as the veterans, your Van Jeffersons and Calvin Ridleys, et cetera, et cetera. So, sure, there is a advantage there. They're very close friends. They really like throwing to each other. But we're reaching a point where Cam's been throwing to these guys for, what's this, since April, 7 months, 6 months. It's not as if he doesn't know who these people are, but he knows Restrepo. I don't want to fall for that fallacy because Cam repeated the playbook. He has been holding 5 a.m. meetings with his receivers, and he has been throwing after practice with his receivers. And Tyler Lockett was one of those guys, and that didn't work out. But I don't know, man. It is so tough for me to just sit here and say, oh, well, plug in Restrepo and something's going to change, because the whole narrative of Cam Ward that we've been repeating for months and months and months indicates that he has this kind of relationship with other receivers. It's not purely a mental connection with him and Restrepo thing, so I don't want to paint it as if that's the only close connection that Cam has. I think that's doing a disservice to Cam.
Nick Suss of the Tennessean has been our guest this morning on Ramon and Will at Nick Suss, where you follow his work covering the Tennessee Titans. Does a great, great job. Tennessean.com, of course, as well online. Nick, great stuff as always. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, happy to help y'all.
Yes, sir. Nick Suss of the Tennessean, our guest this morning, talking Titans, and I am glad he framed that so eloquently on Restrepo Ramon.
Yeah, he did.
Because I think people need to hear it from other people than just us here in the morning.
Because we're haters.
Of course. When you think things in realistic terms, you're just a hater on social media.
I just, yeah.
I'm joking, of course.
Yeah,
we're not Restrepo haters.
Or we're not at all. It's just that somebody, I think it was a fan that said this too. This guy's available to be poached from an NFL practice squad and
That's
yet
right.
to have it happen.
Yeah.
He's also in a position where he's healthy, and they chose to upgrade Mason Kinsey.
That's the thing I think that people have to wrap their heads around, and bringing up Mason is the right way to look at it. Even if he did get brought up, like Nick says, Mason Kinsey is still, so far, and so is James Prochet, been ahead of him in the pecking order.
Yeah.
So if Restrepo gets brought up, what's to say those guys aren't also being brought up, but those guys are actually getting to play? Because you can be on the game day roster or be brought up or elevated for a weekend and still not even be active. And so many times we major in these conversations about back of roster guys who end up just basically holding their helmets. And that, again, for them personally, that's a big deal. You fulfilled an NFL dream. You're getting paid. You're getting an NFL paycheck.
It's a bigger check.
I'm not going to minimize what that means to people and to families, and that is a livelihood. However, for the game that is being played on that day, we talk so much about Restrepo, and even if he is brought up, Ramon, this weekend, he might play 5 snaps. Maybe.
You might not even see him.
Might not even see him at all. So until we are in a position to where he is playing a legitimate role on this offense, it's just kind of something on the side that doesn't really move the needle one way or another, because I don't think it's worth us spending a ton of time on a guy that might play 5 snaps, even if he is available.
You know what's funny? I'm laughing a little bit. Xavier Restrepo to me is a little bit, it's the last of that H, man, that hope for a lot of the fans.
Yeah.
If you put Xavier, and I say this with all due respect because I feel like I understand like how this league works a little bit and how I've seen coaches deal with this, all right, we're done type of conversation. If Xavier Restrepo was up, and he may end up being productive, but it's time to go ahead and just drop the anchor. Like,
Yeah, to the point you made last week.
Not going anywhere.
Because you said last week going into the Patriots game, you'd like to see him, but that's as a last resort.
Yeah.
That's not because still, even if you want to see him, you've got to manage the expectations of what he can actually bring you, because there is not an elite level of separation there. If they felt like Xavier Restrepo could consistently get open and catch the football, he would already be playing.
Coaches don't care where good ideas come from.
No.
And Mike McCoy said that so far. His philosophy is to find the best pathway to win football games. That was one of his opening presses when somebody asked him, what is your philosophy? And I thought he gave the greatest coach speak answer ever. Well, week to week, I got to figure out what we are and how we got to go win games.
Well, you're right. Right. We're going to talk about a Kurt Benkert tweet later in the show. Kurt Benkert does a lot of YouTube stuff and former NFL journeyman, backup, and practice squad quarterback. I feel like he has gaslit people a little bit on how much of an impact there can be there. I feel like there's this overarching thought, Ramon, that if you get Xavier Restrepo together, suddenly Cam Ward will look like he did at Miami. And that's not a fair expectation to put on Xavier Restrepo.
No.
Not at all.
No.
615-737-1045, our number as we wrap up the first half of the show. There was a coach that got asked about Penn State. Some answers you hear from college football coaches in the carousel, you're like, oh, that was not a denial. This was a denial. Do not expect this one coach to be in the mix for Penn State. You'll hear from him coming up next. Moving in Middle Tennessee is a big challenge, and maybe you haven't wanted to take that leap of faith to move into the neighborhood you want to be in because you're not confident in selling your home, or maybe the time frame you would need to sell your home. You're looking at that one spot, you're thinking, all right, I could make an offer, we could move quickly, but then you've got to hurry. You've got to sell your home in 30 days or less. Well, my good friend Bernie Gallerani guarantees to sell your home in 30 days or less. That's right. If you have a job that is forcing you to relocate in a short amount of time, maybe you're just looking to make a quick offer. You want to get out of your current spot. You want to move quickly. Well, Bernie Gallerani, he will let you out of the contract at any time. He is the real estate agent who has the 30-day guarantee to sell your home. Bernie knows the market. He's not just that national agent that's going to parachute in, not know your goals, not know where to put you. Bernie knows Nashville, and you can contact him directly on his cell phone. 615-428-2644. That's 615-428-2644. Or check him out online at BernieGallerani.com.
Guys, you know how you feel, man. Something's off. It's not just the signs of aging. It's your energy slipping away, and it could be low testosterone draining all the things that make you, you. But it doesn't have to be that way. There's a solution for you. It's testosterone replacement therapy at Synergex and Low T Center. But don't take my word for it. Just ask the patients, man. Guys who started often say TRT completely changed their lives, saved their marriages, and in some cases, saved their life, okay? You don't know what TRT at Synergex and Low T Center can do for you unless you go for the free T test. Don't let this be another one of those things that you keep putting off. The best you is waiting, and you can take action to change your life today, man. We also know what testosterone replacement can do for the men, but you also know that it also benefits women. That's right. Women experience many of the same symptoms of men with low testosterone: tiredness, no energy, mood swings, low libido. So women can go in also and get tested as well. Treatment includes testosterone injections, even hormone pellets for women. At Synergex and Low T Center, they have a long history of helping women find a hormonal balance that brings back the balance into their life. So imagine how much better you would feel if you reignite your energy. Get back to feeling like you again. Book your appointment now at trtmvp.com. That's trtmvp.com. You'll be wishing you did it sooner.
Selling your home can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. There are no showings, no open houses, no stress. Work with the #1 real estate team in the U.S. and close with confidence. Go to markspain.com today.
Ramona Will, 104.5 The Zone, fueled by Scooter's Coffee, wrapping up the first half of the show. In a half hour, Austin Price joins us with the fallout of Tennessee, Alabama, and the latest on Tony Vitello and the San Francisco Giants. Honestly, with how fluid that situation is, maybe something will have broken by the time we talk to Austin at 8:20. Who's to say?
I know. That's spicy.
Going to hear from a college football coach who I think we can scratch off the list for Penn State. But first, a couple of you wanted to react to our conversation on Restrepo and the Titans with Nick Suss. And so we'll do that right now. Joshua is in Lawrenceburg leading us off. What's up, Joshua?
Hey, how's it going, fellas?
Good. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I know a lot of us Titans fans are checked out. I mean, we're 1-6, and we're looking for ways to win. And I know that Xavier Restrepo ain't been activated yet, but that would bring a lot of fans' attention to it. And if you bring him up, what do you got to lose? We're already losing. And two, that'll answer whether or not the coaches are, let's say, like it'll answer the questions why the coaches ain't activated him per se. And if he does bad, that'll tell us, hey, the coaches know what they're doing and stuff.
Thank you, Joshua.
All right, thank y'all.
Appreciate the call.
Feel you, Joshua. Like, just bring them up.
No. I feel like now you just want to bring him up so we can stop getting the questions about it.
I don't, because, again, he may get in there and ball. There's the if component of it also. Like, somebody said, well, he's not that good, just cut him from the practice squad. No, that ain't how the league work either. There are a lot of guys that are developmental. There are a lot of guys that are also great practice squad players. I know dudes that make careers out of being a practice squad player because they know how to mimic the players on the other side of it. It's just that they can't fit you in with the guys they have a higher caliber of expectation for. I don't know what Xavier Restrepo's, expectation is from this coaching staff either. But as a fan base, there's college good and there's also NFL good.
Yeah.
Just plainly put. That was an older gentleman playing against younger guys on a super team in college football too, with a quarterback that was cooking. And yes, they had chemistry together. If that chemistry was still there as far as Xavier Restrepo go and Cam Ward currently in this NFL-style offense that they're running right now, I don't think there'll be any hesitation on putting them up. I just don't know this answer.
I promise you there is nothing in Mike Borgonzi or Chad Brinker's minds about what will keep the fans' attention, though. Because the fact that Xavier Restrepo would be a draw is not something that they need to care about. If that was the case, and if putting butts in seats and selling tickets and all those things were a higher priority for front offices, Tim Tebow would have had a lot longer career as quarterback in the NFL. And Colin Kaepernick probably would have too. Yeah. If attention mattered. And it doesn't matter to them.
For instance, though, too, I was also an undrafted free agent. I wasn't that fast. I ran a 5.5 and a 5.6 and a 40. I was a tackle that had to move to guard. I found a way onto the football field. Like, for whatever reason, Xavier Restrepo has the same deficiencies that I have. It's just that he plays a position that's very unforgiving to slow guys. Anquan Bolden wasn't the fastest, right? But he also had size and strength to be able to get open.
Juwan Jennings, same way right now. Third and Juwan is what they call it in San Francisco.
Legitimately, there's an opportunity to be had. It's just a matter of what's shown. And he can make the active 53-man roster. I want to pile on to him, but what I'm telling you is this. If the opportunity presents itself, he better run through a wall.
I wouldn't mind seeing him in a third down role just to see, just out of curiosity. I have to, though, measure those thoughts because, Ramon, just because we don't see him and we have curiosity doesn't mean the coaches and front office aren't watching him at practice every day. That's the thing, is that we have a curiosity because we don't have all the answers to the test that the front office and coaching staff does. They are watching him play every day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there may be a level of curiosity of, all right, when the lights turn on, what are you? And maybe there is an opportunity. I ultimately think Xavier Restrepo is going to play this season.
I think so, too.
But to the caller's point about, well, what do you have to lose? Let's just try it out. I don't think Cam Ward has been playing NFL football long enough for you to just scrap what you're already doing on the reasoning of, well, let's just see. Because Cam needs a certain level of continuity and time to throw to the guys who are already on the field before you just give those guys less opportunities and put a new one out there. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I do agree that Xavier Restrepo is not going to be much worse than what you've already put out there. And that I mean, granted, I've got a lot of the same curiosity as well, but they watch him every day. And there's got to be a reason why he's not playing. And the reason is, I believe that they don't think he can separate at a good enough level to play professional football right now. That could change, but right now, that's the reality of the situation.
Real quick before you go to this call, if Cam wasn't this franchise quarterback, would Xavier Restrepo be on practice squad?
I think he would be on a practice squad. I can't confidently tell you he would be on this one. No. I think just because he was so productive as a college player, I think you would still have some of these fans clamoring for him because good college players, this is a college football town, and these are smart fans that watch a lot of college football. I think there would be some of this noise. I don't think it would be as loud as it is, though, because of his connection with
Cam. It's a very similar type of offense that could use a player like him. They hadn't come and got him. Is the Rams. Puka Nakua's out.
Or heck, Miami. I mean, where he played college football.
No way comparing him to Puka Nakua, but
sure, they're very different players.
Maximized, in my opinion, Puka Nakua's ability to be a playmaker. I don't think Puka's super fast.
But he's so good with the ball in his hands because he's so thick, like he's so big. That's the thing about Nakua. And Restrepo, to your point, yes, is bigger than I think what he's given credit for size-wise. But Puka Nakua, we saw him. Right. He's bigger, Puka, than he gets credit for. Puka Nakua took a 10-yard sweep and turned it into a 50-yard touchdown. Puka Nakua has yards after catch ability that I don't believe Xavier Restrepo has.
You know what Puka Nakua also has? 6'2", 201, ran a 4.5.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, never mind.
Exactly.
Never mind.
Coming up, you will hear from a head coach who I think you could scratch off the list for Penn State. Some hilarious press conference audio this week from a sitting Power 4 football coach. Plus, we'll get to AG and Johnny on the phones as we begin the second half of your Tuesday morning Ramon and Will. Coming up next. All your favorite NBA players are back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is the place to bet on NBA stars this season. Hey, it's Will Bowling with more markets open for more of the game. DraftKings, the number one sportsbook for live betting, is live when others aren't. Hey, maybe you're like me. You don't have one team you watch. Being from a city that doesn't have an NBA team, maybe you're just in on the action. You like a little bit of everything. You like what you've got a pick on, a bet on that night. Well, new customers bet just $5 and get 3 months of NBA League Pass, plus score $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THEZONE. That's code THEZONE. Bet $5 and get 3 months of League Pass, plus get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. 21 plus, Tennessee only, eligibility and restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. NBA League Pass auto renews until canceled. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. What if you could pull up to $500,000 in cash out of your home and drop your mortgage rate to 4.99% APR? Hey, it's Will Bowling. Right now at Loan Pronto, they've got the lowest rates in 3 years. With Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan, you can get your cash in as little as 3 days. Pay off all those high-interest credit cards and even skip your next 2 house payments. One client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours, paid off their debt, paid off 2 car loans, and saved $2,100 a month. One call, life changed. There's no wait. No hard credit pull up front. You probably won't need an appraisal. Just fast, easy cash from your home's equity. Rates are at a 3-year low, so act now. Call 615-499-5780 or visit loanpronto.com for your free instant home appraisal. See how much cash you can get today. Loan Pronto, A-plus rated with the BBB and nearly 2,500 5-star Google reviews. Call 615-499-5780 and see how much cash you can get today at loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. On approved credit, visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
.802, good morning, live from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. In Tennessee Titans news yesterday, per ESPN's Adam Schefter, wide receiver Tyler Lockett has asked for and granted his release from the Tennessee Titans. Lockett signed a 1-year, $4 million deal this offseason and has 10 catches for 70 yards in 7 games this season. He's expected to be free to sign with another team after a 3 o'clock Central on Wednesday afternoon. Other NFL news, Monday Night Football doubleheader last night. The Detroit Lions handled the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24-9, but the Bucs lose more than just the game as wide receiver Mike Evans suffers a clavicle fracture and will miss mostly towards the end of the season. And the nightcap, the Seattle Seahawks beat the Houston Texans 27-19 as Jackson Smith-Njigba with his 5th 100-yard receiving game of the year and also added a touchdown in the win. In baseball, the World Series is now set. The Toronto Blue Jays beat the Seattle Mariners in Game 7 last night, 4-3, thanks to a go-ahead 3-run home run in the 7th inning by George Springer. The Blue Jays now face the Los Angeles Dodgers with Game 1 in Toronto this Friday. And in hockey, the Nashville Predators return to Bridgestone Arena tonight after a 4-game road trip in Canada. The Preds host the Anaheim Ducks at 7 o'clock. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour 3 of Ramon and Will starts right now on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome in. If you're just now joining us and starting off your morning, Austin Price is going to be here in 15 minutes talking Tennessee, Alabama, the fallout of the Vols' second loss of the season, health update, plus the latest on Tony Vitello as the San Francisco Giants continue to court the Tennessee manager and try to make him the first manager to go from college baseball to Major League Baseball with no prior professional baseball experience. Crazy. But that's where we're at, and Austin Price will join us in 15 minutes to give us the latest as we continue in the holding pattern we have been in. Your phone calls at 615-737-1045 that we'll get back to in just a moment. Ramon Foster, Justin Hawkins, and Will Bowling. So Mike Elko is a logical candidate to replace James Franklin at Penn State. He is the kind of coach, he is the kind of proven commodity, and he is a recruiter of the Northeast. Mm-hmm. And considering he went to Penn, and he's from South Brunswick, New Jersey, and has coached at places like Fordham and Notre Dame and Hofstra, logical choice. Well, he was asked about that this week, and he does not think that he is a logical choice to be the next Penn State head coach. This was great earlier this week.
There's multiple national reports out that you're a possible candidate for the Penn State job. I'm just curious, your thoughts on that, how you handle your name being linked to that kind of job, and if that's something you even discuss with your players.
I don't discuss it with my players. I think it's absolutely hilarious how you guys cover coaches. I think 3 weeks ago I was getting fired. Now I'm getting hired. Now you don't want me to stay, but I'm leaving. Like, it's absolutely hilarious. It is a waste of brain space to spend any time talking or thinking about any of that stupidity.
Okay, tell us how you really feel, Mike.
I actually believe him.
I do too.
Call me gullible, but
I do too.
but him telling is actually hilarious, and understanding, they say they don't listen to the media, but understanding that fan base wanted him gone not too long ago, and now he's the best coach for the Penn State job. I like the realness of his comments right there, and just listening to him speak about it. It seems as if he has an inside track to understanding what Penn State wants. And just because you link a guy to a region doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's best for him and his family. There's a lot of other components that go into that. He leaves A&M and go to Penn State. That's one big to another big. You only go small if that doesn't work after that point, in my personal opinion, especially when you're choosing to leave. Or
if you were going from a Power 4 program to another Power 4 program, or let's even put it this way, a Power 2 program to a Power 2 program from the SEC to the Big Ten. What do they have that your current place doesn't? From Texas A&M to Penn State, nothing. Anything Penn State can give you, A&M can give you as well. I mean, they got oil money there, and Penn State's got plenty of resources, but it is at the very least equal to what you have in order to be successful at A&M. The only difference between those two jobs is how easy it is to make the playoff. It is easier to make the college football playoff at Penn State than it is at Texas A&M, considering the other teams that are in the SEC that you got to play every year. If you get the right unbalanced schedule in the Big Ten, you could skate to the playoff at 10-2. Right. That's why I think Penn State is one of the best jobs in the country, because of the resources matched with the history, matched with the facilities, with the recruiting ground, with the prestige of the program, with what you're going to get to be successful, and the fact that you might play 5 3-win teams or 4-win teams in your conference every single year.
That part of it is phenomenal. But you mentioned the prestige of that university. I'm not overly, just in depth on the history of what A&M is, Texas A&M. But I feel like if Mike Elko does what he's doing now, he'll, stay there for a very long time, aside from the fact of trying to win in the SEC.
Texas A&M, always good, never great.
Yeah, perfect. The Penn State pressure, though, to your point, yes, you're going to have a pathway.
Yeah.
There's 2, maybe 3 stoppages, like stops that you got to make as a Penn State coach that you got to get. That's Ohio State. That determines your rankings in that league, your validation as a school in the Big Ten.
Yep.
There's Michigan, always, and there's the recruiting battle of Notre Dame. I feel like the similarities are, and now with Oregon being in place too. I do think there's a tougher ceiling for their big three that they have over there. Well, their big two that I think he can be able. The players that he's recruiting now at A&M can compete better in the SEC with that, because I feel like there's such a up and down pathway into how the SEC's played specifically this year. The Elko at A&M is in a much better situation. On top of he already has his quarterback that he's still developing.
Let's go to the phones, talking Titans this morning before we get to Austin Price on the other side. AG is in Nashville next up. What's up, AG? Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm on the side of, what do we have to lose when it comes to Restrepo, because, him and Cam, they got chemistry, they've been playing together, so I'm on this side. But I'm also thinking, like, as far as my perspective, like, the franchise been making a lot of bad decisions. I feel like, they should chalk this season up as a loss. Sit Cam, I don't understand, like, why it would hurt his career to sit him right now. Why make him go through all this buffoonery that's going on within the franchise? And I just feel like he could sit and work on the fundamentals of the NFL and just, tighten up his game and stuff. And sitting, what quarterback did that hurt? I mean, Tom Brady sit, other great quarterbacks done sit on the bench, for their first season or whatever. And I just feel like the franchise need to chalk it up as a loss. And, man, don't make my guy go through all this nonsense that's going on this year. That's all I got.
Thank you, AG. I mean, experience is vital. He's not going to get better if he doesn't go through this nonsense.
That's fair.
I mean, the only way you get to work on fundamentals is by doing it with live bullets flying. Working on fundamentals and the safety of practice doesn't really make you that much better.
AG, I'll tell you too, man, treat yourself better as a Titans fan. I say that to all y'all. Like, treat yourselves better and have a higher expectation. Like, you're clamoring for a practice squad guy. Like, this isn't like a second-round wide receiver that hadn't touched the field just yet. I would beg of y'all, man, in this situation, treat yourselves a little bit better as Titans fans. And I know the expectation of the results of you being a fan hadn't been there as of late. And but hoping for a savior and an undrafted free agent, man, that's a hard way to live. Like, stop and think about that for a second. And I understand what you're saying, AG, and I don't want to minimize that at all. And I know I guess the cause of why you feel and think this way is because it's been mismanaged from the fans' perspective. You've had this hope and optimism for a long time, and this is the one thing that you're clamoring for, is somebody that was really good in college with a quarterback that you love as a fan. But I will beg of you, like, treat yourselves better as fans.
I mean, to the point about can it get worse and what is there to lose? Cam Ward's development is what there is to lose. Because if you put Xavier Restrepo out there and he's not the guy that can get most open and help the quarterback the most, you are making it harder for Cam Ward to succeed by putting a worse player on the field with him that he's got to rely on to get open. That's what they can lose, to the point. I think it will get to a point where he'll get an opportunity because, yes, you're going to really try to tinker with things and just throw things at the wall and see what sticks to help Cam late in the season, but I don't think we're at that point yet. Johnny Ray in Ashland City closes out the segment. What's up, Johnny?
Johnny Ray.
Hey, good morning, fellas. How y'all doing?
Great.
I'm going to start with a big old anchor down and Diego for Heisman. That's all I got to say on that. But I got a couple other points I'd like to get out on the air real quick. I am the guy who created the sign that was flown in the north end zone. I'm catching a lot of flack for it. The apologetic, sorry, we fired you, Vrabel sign. I just want to kind of sentiment there. It wasn't aimed at a player, at a team, at a fan. It wasn't aimed at Vrabel. The whole point of that sign is, I am a season ticket holder. I am sick and tired of the poor product that's being put on the field. It's almost like this. I've been a Titans fan since day one. Right? I walk into Burger King. I know what a Whopper tastes like. I know what them fresh French fries taste like. I order a Whopper meal, and I get a stale hamburger bun, right? The next time I come in, I get a hamburger patty that's overcooked and tastes like cardboard. I wanted to send a message to the people in the boxes, right? Look, if you are upset by my sign, if it made you angry, I want to apologize to you for that. But it wasn't meant for you. It was meant for the people upstairs to know that I'm sick of you presenting a poor product every single Sunday. And as far as the Restrepo thing goes, look, man, as Titans fans, we're grasping for straws right now. We just need something. We just want something to cheer for. We can do better than this. I feel that. I feel that in my heart and in my soul. I know that we can do better than this. As management goes, oh, man, I hope what Miss Amy's telling us is true about Brinker. I hope he's not just another puppet in this game. I'm excited to see what Borzinga can do. I'm on board. I'm still a fan. I'm a die-hard fan. I'm never going to stop cheering for him. But goodness gracious.
Hey, Johnny Ray, some people would tell you, man, as long as you stay down with Vandy, you should be conditioned for this.
I am conditioned for this. I am. Some of us have a heavy cross to bear, you know? And a Vandy fan, that's just my cross to bear in life, brother.
You choose that one. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Johnny. We got a guest on the other side, so we got to keep moving, but appreciate the call.
Johnny Ray, man. I'll sit and have a couple fries with Johnny Ray.
That went pretty viral, his sign.
It did. Shout out to you, Johnny Ray.
All right, coming up next, Austin Price of All Quested on 3 joins us. The reaction to Tennessee, Alabama, plus the latest on Tony Vitello and the San Francisco Giants coming up next.
Borzingas.
What's up? Will Bowling here talking about my new obsession, Daisy French onion dip. It is the way that I consume food during a football weekend or just during a snack time, which can be any time. It's my guilty pleasure, eating dips with chips, wings, veggies while watching big games. Well, Daisy's come out with this delicious Daisy French onion dip and a Daisy Ranch dip that are a game changer. As delicious as a homemade dip, plus they're made with real herbs and spices and other ingredients you'd find in your own kitchen. Bring it to the watch party, put it in a nondescript container, and just watch people ask you, like, wow, did you make this? This is terrific. It's Daisy French onion dip and Daisy Ranch dip at a grocery store near you. Ramona Will at 104.5 The Zone, fueled by Scooter's Coffee, and hour 3 on this Tuesday morning. With 11-year NFL veteran and Vol Network analyst Ramon Foster, I'm Will Bowling. Pleased to be joined as we are every time this week, or every week at this time. Man, Will, come on. Austin Price of All Quested on 3. I got baseball, coaching things on my brain. I've got Tennessee, Alabama. There's cigar smoke that Ramon has still brought in for being in Tuscaloosa. I'm kidding about that part. Austin, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you all doing?
Oh, just a little bit to talk about today. Just never a dull moment, is there, Austin, in the middle of October in Knoxville, Tennessee?
No, never a dull moment. Never a dull moment at all. And, hey, I mean, it's we're in the waiting game here. And I would say we won't wait too much longer one way or the other, because I think we're now in that window post ALCS before the World Series where you'll see Tony Vitello make a decision one way or the other. And that things went the optimism, the pessimism. There's been a lot of feelings over the last 48 to 72 hours, and, they kind of change by the hour at times.
Okay. Well, we will get to that. I did want to start with football this morning, Austin, and the Tennessee-Alabama reaction before we get to Tony Vitello and the baseball decision and the dynamic with Danny White and all those things that have been discussed quite a bit. Because the third Saturday in October was played after this news originally came out, and Tennessee, Austin, it feels like if you had told fans the final score and told you what the result would be, they wouldn't have been shocked. But then the way the game went, it's kind of disappointing how they got there, right? What stands out about the way this went for Tennessee, and what do you think disappoints Josh Heupel the most about the way his team played on Saturday night?
I think he looks in the mirror, and I think he's disappointed in himself. I think he's disappointed in the execution of players. I think he's disappointed in the overall game. I mean, you outgained Alabama through the air on the ground, which means you outgained them overall. Alabama was 2 of 7 on 3rd and long. If you told Tennessee fans going in, Alabama's going to be 2 of 7 on 3rd and long, you'd have said, all right, we'll take that. That means we're getting off the field an adequate amount. And that's how, Tennessee fans have felt. Like if you felt like if you could get off the field, not all the time, but just some of the time, and Tennessee's offense continues to produce, you're going to have a real shot to win the football game. You did a lot of that, and you lost by 17. Why? Because you had a 14-point swing, or at least a 10-point swing, depending on whether you scored a touchdown or kicked a field goal at the end of the first half, and then the pick 6. So if you do what you're supposed to and get points right before the half, and you don't give them a free touchdown, even if you save the safety stuff, that's a part of the game. But that end of the half sequence made it where the end of the game was much about nothing. Tennessee continue to make, I think, some questionable decisions when they didn't kick the field goal with 4 minutes to go. You're down 17. You kick the field goal at 4th and 11. You don't go for it because you have to get back down there multiple times anyways. Stay in the game. Stay in the game. If you kick the field goal there, you got your stops using your timeouts, then, there at the end, you would have at least been trying to score a little bit more hastily in an effort to potentially put yourself in a position to kick an onside kick and maybe pull a Hail Mary. Again, all that's small percentages to try to win the football game, but at least it keeps you in it. When you didn't kick the field goal, it took you totally out of it.
Austin, it's interesting with the Tennessee run game and how productive they were in the second half. It felt like Tennessee went away from the run too much in the second half when it was working. And I know the play specifically before the fumble over Joey Aguilar's head, you can see Josh Heupel frustrated on the sideline, A, because somebody's not blocking on a wide receiver screen, but B, because maybe Deshaun Bishop had just broken a 20-yard run and then you pass the ball right after that. You don't stick with the run. How much of that in your mind, Austin, is Josh Heupel or Joey Halsley decisions and calls, or how much of that in the second half was Joey Aguilar thinking it was a heavy box and throwing when he could have handed it off in an RPO type of play call?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to think that Coach Heupel was frustrated with the decision the decision to throw it after the run, because at the end of the day, as he points out on a routine occasion, he's the ultimate decision maker on offense. He knew what was being called. If he didn't want to do that, he could have overruled it. So I think probably more frustrated with the lack of blocking. Felt like maybe something was set up there, and the inability to block for the man in front of you, probably hurt that play. And then, of course, the bad snap, the miscommunication there, I just derailed it. And then they tried just to get it back around field goal range, which would have, again, cut it to a one-score game had, to get in the field goal range and Max Gilbert made it and Mike Matthews dropped the ball. It was a calamity of errors on that drive. But Tennessee's done that multiple times in recent weeks where they got a sudden change turnover and didn't take advantage of it. So I think ultimately, this is Joey Halsley, Josh Heupel, Seth Luttrell, Alec Abel, all those guys talking during the course of a game, and they make decisions. But ultimately, it's Josh Heupel's decision. As he points out, he's the OC.
Joined by Austin Price of All Question on 3. Also, did he walk you through on that particular play, the pick six, the mind setting to getting into that set with heavy guys and no timeouts? It was either you couldn't run the football unless you're just going to say, we're going to beat guys up at the line of scrimmage. But I looked at that play as they're running guys out there, and you have Nathan Robinson go out there, and I forget who else the other big was, but I'm thinking to myself, there are no timeouts. You can't run up the middle. What are we doing? And, Alabama sits and wait on you to throw the football instead of getting in 5 wide and, taking one shot, then taking a field goal. Has there been a real explanation into what he was actually thinking by putting that set out there?
He's never explained it. He was asked about it post game, kind of gave an average to below average answer. It didn't make sense. Everybody in the stadium knew they had to pass it there. Was it second down or third down? I forget the
second down, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's second down, with 9 seconds to go, Ramon, you could throw 2 fades to Chris Brazel and still kick the field goal. So, I guess for my liking, I just hated the design, hated the play call because it was predictable. You knew that they weren't going to hand it off, so going play action only allowed the defensive lineman to pressure, which is what ultimately happened, and then he rushed the throw, threw it behind him. 100 yards later, it's 23-7 at the half instead of 16-14 or 16-10, and that was just bad. Call it what it is. You have to sometimes just go, that was dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I make a decision as a dad or as a husband or as a worker, and I go, that was a great decision. And sometimes I have to go, that was a dumb decision.
Right.
It's like giving the kids sugar at 9 o'clock at night. Not smart, guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That. Sometimes you just have to own it. And I don't feel like anybody's truly owned it, so to speak. And again, they just have to, the old Butch Jones snapping clear. They have to just move past it. You got to win 1 week at a time because you ultimately have to win out. If you go 10-2, I know what the ESPN predictor says. A lot of it will depend on who loses around you and who they lose to and who they beat. But if you go 10-2, you put yourself in a chance to make the playoffs. Most people would predict Tennessee to go 9-3 before the season started. If they do better than that and they don't make it, they don't make it. If they make it, that's great. That means they close strong. Ultimately, Tennessee's just got to move past it to Kentucky. Kentucky's not a very good team, which means you need to put them away early. Don't let them hang around like Texas did.
No doubt about it. There's a lot of questions, too, Austin, about Tim Banks and the defense, man. Just from the fan perspective, you should be able to. Austin, what are the issues that this defense have, and how I guess the conversation is around Tim Banks and how they've performed a little bit this year?
They've not performed like they did a year ago. It's looked more like they performed in 23 or 22, where they've been kind of opportunistic, made some plays, but also been maddening, befuddling, those type of adjectives that drives everybody nuts. Again, Tennessee, I thought, performed better Saturday night than they had been performing as far as their ability to get off the field, but 2 90-yard-plus drives was debilitating. That opening drive where you have them 3rd and 12 and Ty's running around the end zone and finds the tight end, that's a blow. after the sequence we talked about earlier, where they weren't able to take advantage of sudden change, and you've downed it inside the 5, and they go right down. They go down the field with conversion after conversion. That's a blow. And so this team has been hit by injuries at different positions. Obviously, the secondary is the biggest position of where they're just not where they were. And I think whether they get Jermon McCoy back or not, they have to somehow figure it out, somehow to figure out how to get Ty Redmond some confidence back. I don't know if that's letting him come off the bench and spell Jalen McMurray and making Boo Carter the starting star. I know that's something they've not done to this point, and maybe they don't. Maybe they just keep riding with what they've got. I know that it's not been good enough to where I wouldn't think about at least giving it a different look, even if you said, hey, we're going to predominantly play with this, but I'm going to, go this route. What did Tony Vitello do a few years ago when he'd pitch the one kid on Friday night for like 6 pitches or one inning or whatever, and he would bring the other kid in because the other kid felt more comfortable coming out of the bullpen. Sometimes, kids just need a change in scenery, a change in look, and I don't think it hurts to kind of go a different route, but that's ultimately up to Tim Banks and ultimately up to Josh Heupel.
Well, Austin, that's a fantastic segue, talking about Tony Vitello, to the latest on Tony Vitello. Where are we at with his decision, Austin? Is this as simple as he's got to decide whether or not he wants to be the head coach at Tennessee or the head coach or manager, I guess, of the San Francisco Giants? And what factors do you think he is weighing in order to make that decision?
I think the chance to be a pioneer, be the first coach to go from college to a Major League Baseball team, is very appealing to him. His love for Knoxville, his love for the people at Tennessee, obviously is something that also weighs on him. Does he want to look back and say, man, I should have done it. I missed a chance. I should have taken the job. I think that's something that he's probably having to really weigh, because if you have any inkling at all to want to do this, then I don't think you want to look back and go, I blew it. I stayed at Tennessee. It was great, but I had this opportunity and I didn't take it. I think ultimately he knows he can come back to college. It would probably be here, obviously, but it's something where everybody over there is kind of waiting to see what he does. At points in time, like I said earlier, there's been pessimism, there's been optimism. Tony's not done a lot of talking, period, as he's tried to weigh this thing. He went every day to charity golf tournaments like he did yesterday, or practice like he's done several times over the last handful of days. But I think the rubber's going to meet the road, and I'd say the rubber probably meets the road today. I would be pretty surprised if we got to tomorrow and nothing is out there, nothing is definitive when it comes to Tony Vitello. Again, I think this is ultimately got to be something that Tony decides one way or the other. And like I said, it's kind of been a little bit all over the map the last 24 to 48 hours.
Well, Austin, to that point, the feeling has kind of been, hey, the longer this thing goes, the better Tennessee's chances are of maybe convincing him to stay around, and he ultimately stays. You made the point when we started that it's kind of changed hour by hour. What's the feeling this hour, Austin? Is this thing leaning one way or another, in your opinion?
At one point last night, there was some optimism, and then late last night, it became a little more pessimistic. This morning, it feels like it's trending to him taking the job with the Giants as of Tuesday morning. Again, we'll see what happens here, but again, Tony's not done a lot of talking, so I think a lot of people are trying to read tea leaves, myself included, and we'll see where this thing goes.
Austin, there's a couple things that go into it. One, if he does stay, it's probably pay increase for him and his staff. He's already the second highest paid college baseball coach. Does that make him number one if he stays, the money part of it?
Honestly, Ramon, I don't think that this is about money. I don't think this is about it's not about money for him, I don't believe. I think it's more about, rev share dollars, NIL money. Everybody wants to have as many bells and whistles as they can with their program at every level, basketball, football, baseball, whatever. And so I think Tony's looking around at what Arkansas has, rev share wise, at what Texas A&M has, at what LSU has, the teams that you're competing against in this league. And I think that's part of it. Obviously there is the allure of playing or coaching in Major League Baseball at baseball's highest level. So, I think there's multiple things he's looking at here as he makes this decision to either stay or to go.
Austin, for the first time in his tenure at Tennessee, Danny White has looked at like a villain. I've seen the conversation on social media, message boards, that if this doesn't work, it's because of Danny White. What's the truth or conversation behind this scenario, what the university presented with?
Yeah, obviously everybody's seen the Jared Dickey post on X last night that he then deleted. And it, of course, was screenshot and has been posted on all the Facebook platforms and back on Twitter and everything else. Ultimately, I think Danny has been supportive in terms of raises and in terms of salary pool for his coaches, in terms of building a stadium that needed to be redone, whether Tony was here or not, to be honest with you. I don't think the two of them, as I said last on the message board, are buying Christmas gifts for one another. But, that goes for a lot of ADs and coaches. There's a lot of ADs and coaches that don't talk every day. Again, I think for Tony, he's always going to push the envelope of trying to have the bells and whistles with the program like other programs have. And he's always going to want more. All coaches do. If you tell Josh Heupel that his rev share number is $30 million, he's going to want 35. Same thing with Rick Barnes or Kim Caldwell or whoever. They're always going to want more because it always grows. And so it's constantly changing. So I think I get why there's going to be some frustration because, listen, at the end of this day, and if this is the day that the decision's made and he leaves, it's a blow for Tennessee fans because I think Tony's value is more than what the revenue brings in for the baseball program or loses for the baseball program. His ability to resonate with fans, to get them excited, to be a man of the people. What Bruce Pearl did here in the mid-2000s, he's taken that, the whole going to the cafeterias on campus and standing on the tables and getting everybody excited. He's done that in the community. He's made Tennessee baseball a thing. Tennessee baseball went to the College World Series a handful of times under Rod Delmonico. It was never a thing. It's a thing for the casual fan with Tony Vitello. And he's such a man of the people. It'll be a blow. And for fans, they're going to be looking for somebody to blame. I get where that naturally turns to Danny. I would also tell you that he's not going to Texas A&M or Arkansas. If he leaves, he's going to Major League Baseball, which is, what a compliment. To be the first ever college coach to do this. So I don't think it's apples to apples as far as he's not leaving for another college job. So I think you have to look at it in perspective. But yes, it's a huge blow to Tennessee baseball if he leaves.
So Austin, you mentioned revenue share, coaches and facilities. Is somebody getting more to him that he doesn't feel is justified, like Kim Caldwell and the recruiting class that she has and the push that's been behind her, if we're talking about revenue sharing for recruiting?
Listen, I don't think that Tony Vitello is ever going to hate on Kim Caldwell and her success or anything like that. I think he is uber supportive of her, just like he is of Rick Barnes or Josh Heupel. They all want more. They all want more. I don't know what her rev share number is compared to what it was a year ago. Obviously, the rev share wasn't even a thing a year ago. It was NIL. So the whole thing's kind of morphed over the last 6 months when Tennessee became more involved and colleges all became more involved with the rev share part of this versus just NIL and collectives. And so NIL and collectives normally, with certain kids can take, whatever the rev share number is and take it over the top to get you where you need to be. financially to get deals done. But yeah, I don't think Tony. I think Tony's very supportive of the Lady Vols. I don't think this is he's mad at Kim Caldwell type thing.
Austin Price of Allquest, our guest Tuesdays at 8:20 here on the show at Austin Priceless, where you follow him on Twitter. Austin, great stuff and great nuggets as always. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it,
Yes, sir. Austin Price with us. So we react to that and hit more headlines and more of your phone calls. Stir up hour 3 next.
Work. It's what we do. Part of who we are. There is joy in work. And no matter what size your business is, the dedicated commercial team at Two Rivers Ford will find the work trucks and vans that keep your business moving. And Two Rivers is the only dealer that offers a 90-day free fleet management program that can help you save money on every single mile. The Commercial Vehicle Center at Two Rivers Ford. We work for you.
Ramona will wrap it up hour 3 this morning on 104.5 The Zone, fueled by Scooters Coffee and streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV. Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. If you missed Austin Price a few minutes ago, you can get it wherever you download podcasts. Breaking down Tennessee, Alabama, and talking about the latest on Tony Vitello in Tennessee. If you missed his interesting answer and nuggets on Tony Vitello in Tennessee, we're going to play that and react to it here in 10 minutes. So if you're just tuning in and you missed it, hang on with us. We'll get back to that in about 10 minutes on what Austin Price said about the latest regarding Tony Vitello and the San Francisco Giants. Let's catch up on the phones, though. 615-737-1045. Micah is in Nolensville. Next up. What's up, Micah?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I have a couple of things about the Titans first, and then I'll talk some balls. But I think Titans fans, we got to be a lot more patient. We kind of knew we were going to be bad. I think some people got their expectations up too much. Give Cam Ward time. We're way too anxious to get rid of Cam Ward. We wanted Brian Callen out. We want him out. People are talking about we want new owner management. If we get new owner management, most likely the owner is going to want to move out of Nashville since it's not that big of a market. So I think Titans fans, we need to cool down and just be patient with the team. And then balls, I'm still licking my wounds on that balls game. I was in Tuscaloosa too, Ramon, this past weekend. Look, one thing about Bama that I saw is they like to copy us with a lot of things. They got their pom-poms like we do. They run out of their little Bama thing like we do. Next thing you know, they're going to have red and white checkerboard end zone. So it just made me feel really good how we are their role models there at Alabama. And wait till they come to our house next year. They had a nice little cute dinky stadium, but they're coming to Knoxville next year, and we're hanging 70 on them.
Thank you, Micah.
Boy, you make me proud.
Appreciate the call. Micah's growing into a nice little hater.
He is.
I love it.
He is, and he waited to distribute that hate right there.
Love it. Fantastic.
A little dinky. Yeah, that was good right there. No, Titanomics, he will not go back to class, man. He's in school right now. He just schooled all of y'all. That was good, man.
That's right. He schooled all of you, so he's at school. That's funny.
I love that from Michael, really man. Funny. That was real good.
I love it. Monday Night Football last night. Texans on offense. Man. I just saw a tweet a few minutes ago saying, what's Bobby Slowick up to?
Bobby.
New OC Nick Caley's got some issues in that Texans offense. Seahawks get the win, and the Detroit Lions get the win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
His this conversation we're going to have in the 9 o'clock about Cam and stuff like that, it correlates to C.J. Stroud a little bit too.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's ties in how you get to this point, man. He's another one I'm adding to the list I ain't think about, but watching that game last night, just add a little bit more context into what you are as a quarterback. What's your orders? And I do mean that because coach is coach, right? Like there's a component in which you tell yourself, hey, I believe in my coach. I believe in the idea that he's going to put me in the best position to be successful. And we're watching now a change in the C.J. Stroud offense that he's running this year as compared to what he's done previously with Bobby Slowick, right? There's a lot to be said about that and trust and confidence, too, when you look at his production or lack of it this year. Mm-hmm. And they also, Laramie Tunsil plays a part and blase.
Sure. Impressive part for Seattle so far this season, and again last night, Jackson Smith and Jigba is a dude.
Talk about it.
5 100-yard receiving games, one shy of the Seattle franchise record. And they're through 7 games. Yeah. We've got to reestablish what type of receiver works in the NFL. Because these slightly built, quick receivers that we have always felt like are not durable enough or physical enough to stand up against physical corners. Ramon, I'm looking around the league, and a lot of these guys are the best receivers on their teams and the best receivers in the National Football League. And Jackson Smith and Jigba is right up there at the top.
Hey, size don't matter, and I can speak about this one because this ain't my lane and my other job. When you jumping and dunking over the damn goalpost like that.
Yeah, which he got flagged for and will probably be fined for. But
what does height mean when he's clearing? I think the goalpost is 11 foot. If I'm not mistaken,
too
I know
high
it's
for me
over
to reach
10.
it, that's for sure.
I know
it's 6'1".
And he jumped and dunked that ball. I was just like, that dude got hops.
Yeah. Jimmy Graham celebration.
Whoo! He got up there, man.
Yeah, he did.
That's shameful. I don't know the height of the NFL goalpost, too. I
That's
played
okay.
in the league for 11 years. I need to know
How
that.
high is an NFL? I mean, you were more of a spike the football kind of celebrator.
See, that's why we do this, man. You know, I'm a finger roller.
I have the GIF of you spiking it in the all black jersey. NFL goalpost is 10 feet high at the crossbar and extends at least 35 feet high above the crossbar for a total overall height of at least 45 feet. The goalposts are also 18 feet 6 inches wide.
Okay, is that 10 feet at the bottom or 10 feet over the top of the pole?
10 feet at the bottom. The crossbar height is 10 feet. 3.05 meters if you were of the metric system.
Hey, young man did more than clear that last night, though.
Sure
Jackson
he can
Smith
dunk.
and Jigba.
We know that.
Oh, he's explosive.
JSN. Lions beating the Bucks 24-9. Reports of the Lions' demise were greatly exaggerated earlier in the season. Jahmyr Gibbs has 218 scrimmage yards, the most by a Lions player in a game since Calvin Johnson piled up 329, which is wild, in 2013. Condolences this morning if you're waking up and realized you played against Jahmyr Gibbs last night in fantasy. Coming up, what VolQuest's Austin Price told us about Tony Vitello, the latest about Tony Vitello, the San Francisco Giants, and Tennessee baseball is next.
Just before 9:02, good morning live from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. In Titans news yesterday, per ESPN's Adam Schefter, wide receiver Tyler Lockett was asked for and granted his release from the Tennessee Titans. Lockett this offseason signed a one-year, $4 million deal and has 10 catches and 70 yards in 7 games this season. He is expected to be free to sign with another team after 3 o'clock Central on Wednesday. Another NFL news, Monday Night Football doubleheader last night. The Detroit Lions handled the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24-9, but unfortunately for the Bucs, they lost more than the game as wide receiver Mike Evans suffered a clavicle fracture and is expected to miss most of this season. In the nightcap, the Seattle Seahawks beat the Houston Texans 27-19, and the NFL's leading receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba had his 5th 100-yard receiving game of the year, also adding a touchdown in the win. In baseball, the World Series now is set as the Toronto Blue Jays beat the Seattle Mariners last night in Game 7, 4-3, thanks to a go-ahead 3-run home run by George Springer in the 7th inning. The Blue Jays now will face the Los Angeles Dodgers with Game 1 in Toronto this Friday for the World Series. And in hockey, the Nashville Predators return to Bridgestone Arena after a 4-game road trip in Canada. The Preds host the Anaheim Ducks tonight at 7 o'clock puck drop. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Time for the big finish. Fireworks always, every hour. Of Ramon and Will, fueled by Scooter's Coffee. 9 a.m. in the Music City. 615-737-1045, how you join us. Coming up, there has got to be a balance between fair criticism and overreactions to Cam Ward's development through the 2025 NFL season. We're going to try to strike that balance. No, he's not a bust. But no, also, we're not going to be talking about undercarriages of offensive linemen hurting his grip. Both of those comments have been on social media. I just had to let that one breathe for a minute. Both those comments have been on social media as serious takes. We're going to find ourselves somewhere in the middle. Coming up here in 15 minutes. Ramon, you've been looking forward to this. Wow. You have spoken with some individuals about Cam's development, about all of these things, and we're going to talk about it coming up in 15 minutes. Going to be good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It should be interesting, man. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was just going to say, and all of this has to be within context of its year one. But the understanding that year one has a whole lot of just consequences of it, too.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, we are getting a lot of tweets, a lot of calls, a lot of messages like, well, why didn't you have this same energy for Levis? You're just a Vol homer. Well, in Levis's rookie year, why would we compare year 2 to year 1 for Cam? Why would we compare year 1 of why don't we compare year 1 of Will Levis to Cam? When Will Levis completed 58% of his passes, 8 touchdowns, 4 picks, was sacked 28 times in 9 starts, and only had 7.1 yards per attempt.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, separate conversation that we will get to coming up in 15 minutes. But if you missed it, Austin Price of All Quested on 3 was with us about a half hour ago talking about Tony Vitello, the latest this morning from Austin, starting with just the overall feeling as things change from hour to hour. We asked, what's the feeling in this hour? And Austin had this to say.
I think the chance to be a pioneer, be the first coach to go from college to a Major League Baseball team is very appealing to him. His love for Knoxville, his love for the people at Tennessee, obviously is something that also weighs on him. Does he want to look back and say, man, I should have done it. I missed a chance. I should have taken the job. I think that's something that he's probably having to really weigh, because if you have any inkling at all to want to do this, then I don't think you want to look back and go, I blew it. I stayed at Tennessee. It was great, but I had this opportunity and I didn't take it. I think ultimately he knows he can come back to college. It would probably be here, obviously, but it's something where everybody over there is kind of waiting to see what he does. At points in time, like I said earlier, there's been pessimism, there's been optimism. Tony's not done a lot of talking, period, as he's tried to weigh this thing. He went every day to charity golf tournaments like he did yesterday, or practice like he's done several times over the last handful of days. But I think the rubber's going to meet the road, and I'd say the rubber probably meets the road today. I would be pretty surprised if we got to tomorrow and nothing is out there, nothing is definitive when it comes to Tony Vitello. Again, I think this is ultimately got to be something that Tony decides one way or the other, and like I said, it's kind of been a little bit all over the map the last 24 to 48 hours.
Well, Austin, to that point, the feeling has kind of been, hey, the longer this thing goes, the better Tennessee's chances are of maybe convincing him to stay around, and he ultimately stays. You made the point when we started that it's kind of changed hour by hour. What's the feeling this hour, Austin? Is this thing leaning one way or another, in your opinion?
At one point last night, there was some optimism. And then late last night, it became a little more pessimistic. This morning, it feels like it's trending to him taking the job with the Giants as of, Tuesday morning. Again, we'll see what happens here. But, again, Tony's not done a lot of talking, so I think a lot of people are trying to read tea leaves, myself included, and we'll see where this thing goes.
That is VolQuest's Austin Price with us at 8:20. Sounds like, Ramon, Tony Vitello is not going to be the head coach at Tennessee at the end of today.
Austin gave the answer.
I think so, too.
Yeah. He told us exactly what it was. You weigh the history of what this move means. I think MLB managers benefit from Tony Vitello making this move, because if he's making $3 million at Tennessee, plus whatever it is, going to the Bay Area, California, taxes, et cetera, he's going to raise the floor on coaches' salaries.
Right.
He's part of it. This is the Deshaun Watson contract for NFL quarterbacks, right?
Well, I think it's Nick Saban.
Yes.
I think it's Nick Saban. I think it's Urban Meyer. I think it's Steve Spurrier. I think it's any college coach that has done this knows there's no risk associated with it. Because if Tony Vitello is not successful as the manager of the San Francisco Giants, college baseball is waiting with open arms to welcome him back.
Yep.
And it will be a blue blood program that will be ready to open their arms and welcome him back.
Yeah.
100%.
He ain't going to a JUCO.
Right.
If he come back.
And honestly, I think the nightmare scenario for Tennessee fans is if he doesn't work at San Francisco and Dave Van Horn retires at Arkansas, all of a sudden then the reality that we've not wanted to talk about because it didn't feel realistic with him being in Tennessee, of Tony Vitello one day following his mentor Dave Van Horn at Arkansas, now that actually becomes a legitimate conversation if he doesn't work in Major League Baseball. I'm fascinated by the fit because I don't see Tony as an elite in-game manager and manager of lineups and bullpens and pushing the right buttons the way you have to for 162 games in Major League Baseball. He is a great people person and builder of culture and of a program, but he's able to do that when he's able to pick the players. What is that dynamic like when Buster Posey is helping pick the players and you've got a general manager you answer to? I don't know. I'm fascinated by the fit. It doesn't feel like a fit to me. All I know is that Tony is so much of a winner and has been so successful in his career. I'm not going to doubt him even when the fit on paper seems a bit odd.
Understood. But there's also a golden parachute attached to everything that you just said. He can always come back.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. All right. And apparently he and Buster Posey also have a relationship together already established anyway. If that's there and Tony does have some say-so into what they're doing as far as personnel that they're bringing in, prospects they're bringing in, then that pays dividends in itself. That gives him a little bit more say-so in what he wants out of his squad. He doesn't have to do the booster club stuff anymore. He just got to coach baseball as a part of it too. The Giants organization already got like 4 or 5 Vols already in that program to begin with. So
it sounds like Drew Gilbert has played a role in this too.
Really?
From a San Francisco radio interview yesterday, yeah?
Yeah. So there's a lot going into the fact. And then the other side, because I had a Vol text me yesterday about, hey, don't disparage us Royals, but this is the Giants.
Yeah, Giants are a winning organization. This isn't the Angels or the Orioles who also have openings that are reaching out.
No, this is the Giants. It's the Bay Area.
Yeah.
He's going to go there and have a downtown loft somewhere probably and just be engulfed in all things San Francisco. I mean, the ties to sports there, whether it be the 49ers, whether it be the Giants, like historically, he's in an elite class when it comes down to what that area is. And the expectation to go back and win, like I said, if you're looking for the attitude, if they do cap off MLB baseball rosters as far as the salary cap goes, you're going to need some type of culture, right? At some point, especially if the team is youngish, he's going to bring it. I think college baseball has ascended up with the trends.
Yeah.
To the MLB.
Sure.
Nothing's worked its way down. You see NFL teams pushing down to college football. Baseball is kind of trickulated up. Well, ascended up.
Yeah, and I think, too, I mean, just the ability to be the first to ever make this move and go straight from college to the pros and go straight from college baseball to Major League Baseball, no one will ever be able to take that away from you.
Nope.
You will always be the first to ever do it. Doesn't guarantee success, doesn't guarantee that it's going to work for San Fran and for Buster Posey and for that organization, but that's an opportunity that someone is going to get once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if he sucks and he can't do it, they'll laugh him out of the league. Go back to college, you college baseball coach, and he'll come in and make $4 million as a baseball coach in college again. The sickest, I guess, scenario would be if I'm not sure how long Vanderbilt's coach is going to be there for a while.
Tim Corbin?
What if Corbin retired?
Vanderbilt would never go for Tony Vitello. I don't think Tony Vitello would want Vanderbilt either, to be honest with you.
I'm just saying.
It's funny to think about, but
think about the timeline. I mean, 2-3 years. I mean, any coach can be out at some point in time. And if he's a proven winner in the college ranks and it doesn't work out in the NFL, Nick Saban went through this. He went from LSU to Alabama. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, man, fair enough.
I'm just throwing that. I'm just being a sicko right now.
No, you are.
I'm just being a sicko.
You're leaning into it.
Yeah. But that's the reality if it doesn't work.
Yeah. Coming up, what is the balance between fair criticism and people that just can't admit that Cam Ward isn't perfect? Coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster, Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Man, those type of issues right there, they tire you out, especially if it's HVAC and it's hot or cold inside of your house or an electrical emergency. And don't let plumbing be an issue. But what I'm here to tell you is this, man. Hiller's a company that you can trust because most of the time you deal with other companies, you don't know what it will cost, if it'll get fixed correctly, or if somebody's trying to sell you something you don't need. When you reach out to Hiller, the experts are going to solve your problems quickly. They're very professional, experienced, and very trustworthy, too. And their techs, they're all background and drug screened, too. Hiller's been here for over 35 years and a family owned and operated. When that tech is headed to your house, your place, your apartment, where you dwell at, you'll get a photo of them and a link to track them in real time. So you're not sitting around wasting any time for somebody to show up. The motto has always been, happy you'll be if the service is free. Listen, if you have an issue around your house, whether it be plumbing, HVAC, or electrical, reach out to the company I trust. You can go to their website at happyhiller.com. That's happyhiller.com. And make sure you tell them that Ramon sent you.
Ramona Will at 104.5 The Zone, fueled by Scooter's Coffee, continues in hour 4. Wherever you download podcasts, you get us. Ramona Will, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get audio, make sure you get the program. Austin Price there, Nick Suss from hour 2, including as well the conversation we're about to have, Ramon. So, Kurt Benkert used to play quarterback, kind of in the NFL. And Kurt Benkert now has a YouTube channel where he talks a lot about quarterbacking. He also plays video games, plays Madden, he plays college football. Kurt Benkert went 1 for 2 for -1 yards, I believe, or something like that.
Yeah, it is. I got to pull it up right now.
In the NFL. I'm not saying this to belittle him, not saying it to take shots. I'm just giving you the full context of who this person is because many of you listening have never heard of this human being. Kurt Benkert put out a tweet the other day that said the following. I have to get into a headspace just to read this.
Gather yourself, Will. Take your time. Take your time.
Kurt Benkert is a big Cam Ward fan. That's the other context I'll give. I don't know what's going on with Cam Ward and the fumbles on the windup, but from my experience, it's either swampy butt sweat by the center or they aren't prepping the football to be as tacky as other places do. Ramon, there's one thing here that's tacky, and it's not the football.
It ain't the football.
It's the tweet. Can you please explain to the audience why swampy butts or sweaty butts from centers have nothing to do with Cam Ward dropping the football? Or I'll just ask it. Let me play really dumb. Is there any world where Lloyd Cushenberry's butt sweat on a 50 or a 60-degree day in Nashville in October could impact Cam Ward's ability to hold the football?
If this was the 80s, 90s, early 2000s where quarterbacks worked under center, probably. But even in that situation, that's the top of your hand, not even the bottom, not even the palm of your hand when you put your hand under the center in those type of situations right there. Like, I've seen guys deal with that, but how much is Cam under center for swampy center butt to make the ball wet to come out of his hand? Maybe 5 plays a game. Maybe 5 plays a game. Like, let's be serious about this. I'm not gonna belittle Kurt Benkert also at all, but I will say he lying though too. He got in his Twitter bio that he's a 5-year NFL vet. My brother, stop. You're not, okay? Just to justify yourself as far as being a social media savant, we're not going to do that game. We got to call a spade in these type of situations. Is he NFL alum? Yes. But Cam is in center. Cam is under center. He's in shotgun. And also the other part of it is, instead of just pointing the finger and saying, hey, that's on you because we're grown men and we're professionals and an expectation of how we're supposed to do our job, let's go blame the manager or the manager crew on who scrubs the football is good enough for the quarterback. It sounds like that Kurt is a little bit of an excuse maker himself into why he didn't make it into the NFL. So let's just dead that right there. That is inexcusable. I've seen quarterbacks have had centers with sweaty butts. It could be a thing, but in this one, no, because Cam don't even go in a center like that.
Well, and this was never even an issue in training camp when it was 100 degrees outside.
When it was hot.
This wasn't happening until the last 2 weeks.
So dumb, man. I want to preface this conversation as we get deeper into it by saying this. We got to preface this by saying, one is year one. There's a few things. It's year one.
Yes. This is not year 2 Will Levis. We cannot compare 2024 Will Levis to 2025 Cam Ward. That's not a fair comparison.
Not a fair comparison. He's a rookie.
Yep.
There's a lot he doesn't understand. Let's start there. And we're just judging him off the production of what it is right now. And we'll do a similar comparison going into year 2 because he's on a 5-year plan.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. But we got to be real about year 1 and what he's doing right now. My stance before we go any further, can I have all ears? Can we just be adults about this real fast?
Do we have the proclamation horn real quick for Ramon? Don't worry about it. Or
brought to you by your mama then. As 3HL like to say. All right? We got to be able to talk about Cam and his performance without either one being considered racist or a hater. Those two have been thrown around way too loosely when discussing your Lord and Savior Cam Ward for the Tennessee Titans fan base.
Little late.
Sorry, I was on the phone.
We'll take it.
We can't do that. We got to be able to analyze, point out specifically what's what without you either being a racist or a hater. Let's just put that to bed right now. Yep. Because if his last name was Lance or Wilson or Stroud or he played for another squad somewhere else, you'd evaluate him the same. Remove that while we have this conversation.
Sure.
Cool.
It does feel like the discourse on Cam Ward and the feelings that I hear and see and talk to people about regarding Cam Ward, Ramon, are polarizing. It is either Cam Ward is just, he's a star and he's got no help and the Titans have failed him and nobody's open and nobody's blocking and Cam, I feel bad for Cam. He's a victim of his circumstances. Or it's, Cam Ward doesn't even look like a professional football player. I'm out on him. He's a bust. Let's go to Fernando Mendoza. He stinks. The answer has to be somewhere between the two because you cannot tell the story of why the Tennessee Titans have struggled on offense this year without admitting that Cam Ward is part of the problem. You also should not be proclaiming that Cam Ward is a bust 7 games into his NFL career. Right. Because in both good and bad contexts, Ramon, rookie quarterback play is not an accurate predictor of overall success in the National Football League.
Facts.
It just isn't. You can set the world on fire as a rookie. What happens when teams adjust to you in year 2? You can struggle as a rookie. What adjustments do you make after you have an entire season of NFL football to learn from in the months of January through August? Because then you have 8 months to go back to the drawing board and maybe make adjustments that you can't make midseason and learn lessons that you weren't going to learn unless you play professional football. Ramon, that's where I think we have to be today. We cannot proclaim that Cam Ward is a bust or sound any loud alarm bells this early, but we also have to admit that Cam Ward can do better and needs to play better in order for the Tennessee Titans to improve on offense.
I'm glad you bring that up. So this is where I want to start with this conversation because I talked to a few people yesterday about this position and specifically about Cam too. First thing is first, quarterbacks cannot work in chaos. They just can't. I thought Callahan's last press conference that he had when he spoke about Cam publicly like that was probably also detrimental to his job because you never publicly criticize the quarterback. We know the quarterback is a very tricky, finicky, fragile position. I've told you that before. Starting quarterbacks in NFL are fragile, and I don't mean they're soft. I just mean it's the one position that you covet so much that you want to make sure that everything that you're doing is making them successful. And the moment you criticize them because they're faced with a lot of criticism anyway, it makes them fold, depending upon who they are. That's number one in this situation. The stability that Cam has had or the lack of it has played a part in it also, but it's also on him because Cam's ability, like Cam's strong suit is you don't know if he's being cocky or confident. Let's start there. Like, which one are you with him? Because I feel as if, and there's 2 quarterbacks directly involved with Coach Brian Callahan. That's Will Levis and that's Cam Ward. Specifically those 2. The issue that I have with working in chaos is this, is if you as a coach don't come in with respect, if you don't come in with history, if you don't come in with a real plan, you screw it up. Year 1 under Tim Kelly, Will Levis excelled better than he ever did under Callahan. You want to know why? Because I think Tim Kelly told him what to do. Tim Kelly said, you're going to do this. I've been in this league. I've play call. You're going to do what I asked you to do in these moments right here. And Will Levis, you saw some promise, which is why there was so much put around him. I do think the malpractice of having Cam or Will Levis say what they want ruined them as young guys. What did Will Levis want to do? We were told he want to air that thing out, right? What does also Cam Ward want to do? He want to get outside the pocket. He's releasing statements when I can do what I want to do. This league is bleaked, is what he said.
It's true. He said that to Mike Silver in The Athletic.
He said, when I can do what I want to do, this league is screwed. And not those words right there. And y'all know what I mean.
He used a 4-letter F word.
What I was told yesterday was there may have been a little bit of a situation that should have never happened. Meaning this, there are quarterbacks in this league. There's a saying, I guess, amongst people in this league that says you can make a lot of money and have a whole lot of success being told what to do. Remember, I added his name to the list. C.J. Stroud, an old coordinator that he had, right? Bobby Slowett. That's Brock Purdy and Shanahan and San Francisco, right? That was RG3 his rookie year before he said, I want to be a pocket passer. You're looking at guys right now in today's world who are trying to speed up the process of being Patrick Mahomes, being Peyton Manning, being Drew Brees, being Tom Brady, being Ben Roethlisberger, and not actually getting the basics down. So when you look at what Cam turned into this year, there's going to have to be a coach that come in uber established. It's going to have to be a coach to come in and say, I don't care what you want to do. You're going to do what I want you to do because this is a plan that you need. I've been saying this entire year. Cam doesn't have a foundation. This offense doesn't have one. There's no bread and butter play that you can go to.
Right.
So why, for the crowd that says, let Cam cook, he don't even know how to turn the stove on in the NFL yet. And then it's also the correlations of coaches, right, and players. There's different philosophies. The only reason I bring up the cocky versus confident side of what Cam is because you gotta separate one from the other. There's a fine line that you walk. Now, there's one particular player, man, I looked up, and it was Joe Burrow. I wish I'd have sent y'all the audio, but it was from a sit down that was had in his pre-draft evaluation. Joe Burrow. I'm trying to look up who said it right now. Joe Burrow.
Talk about it.
Psychology.
Okay.
And there was a time in Joe Burrow's life where he was playing AAU basketball. He was young. And his parents are Ohio University people. He said his basketball coach was also a sociology professor at Ohio University. They were down by like 8 points. Joe Burrow scored like 7 of them and didn't blink. He said the sociology teacher came over to his parents and told him, hey, you guys may need to evaluate him just a little bit more because I've seen people like Joe Burrow. He could either be a serial killer or he could be a first responder, a cop, a sheriff that saved people's lives. And he said he told him it's a good thing that he's using his mind, his makeup, to actually play football and be good at sports. What I'm getting at is this. When I mention the cocky versus confidence with Cam, it can come off one way into saying you get rattled too quickly or, hey, you doing it your way may not be the best for the entirety of what we got going on right here. And I only mention Joe Burrow because there's another connection between Coach Brian Callahan and him. We correlate Callahan working with Burrow, but the makeup of Cam and Burrow is just totally different. As far as their makeup, as far as physique, they're actually, I think, a 99th percentile in hands, height, weight, and everything else. But Cam, to this point in his young career, has to figure out what is going to be his mental makeup and who's going to be strong enough to set a precedent to him that my way is better for you right now.
Yeah, right. He's going to have to follow a plan and the structure of an offense. Remember when I got roasted for saying that in the offseason, Ramon, during the draft process?
Yep,
saying that my red flag on Cam Ward was that he doesn't play enough within the structure of an offense.
You said it.
That's still true. Now, the reason why you're okay with it from time to time is because his best moments are outside the structure of the offense. That's got to change. Yep. That's not a sustainable way to live in the National Football League. And even Patrick Mahomes had to learn that. Like, remember when Patrick Mahomes came to Nashville and the Chiefs didn't even put up a touchdown?
Yeah.
That was in the middle of him learning, all right, I've got to go ahead and learn how to check the ball down and take what's given to me. And he's probably the most physically gifted quarterback to ever play in the National Football League. And at the end of his career, I think he's going to be the GOAT. But he had to learn that as well, and it was a big talking point at the time. So where we're at with Cam Ward at this point is that we have to be measured in our expectations and what we expect of him. We've had 7 games. Cam Ward is at fault for a lot. Cam Ward has got to not let the football just be given to the other team on a fumble once a game. Cam Ward needs to get the ball out more quickly on 3rd and short and give his receivers a chance when there's tight man coverage being played against them, because an underthrown pass interference is an explosive play in the National Football League. You got to learn when to let it rip and when to not take your chances and just stand in the pocket and take a hit. On the other side of things, if you think 7 games is enough example in order to say that Cam Ward is a bust, I'm so glad you don't run an NFL organization and not this one. Because how many good quarterbacks would you have missed out on if you gave up on them after 7 games? That's the other point. We have to have patience, and I understand that this fan base is frustrated by the losing that has happened since you went on Thursday Night Football to Green Bay and won a big game, and then you lost 7 in a row a couple of years ago. I get it. I've been a fan for all of this too. I've been a lifelong fan of this team. I've lived through all the same things that you guys have because I was born the same year the Titans were born. But that's not Cam Ward's problem. Cam Ward was always going to take time to develop. He was the best option at quarterback in 2025. Number 1 overall picks need time to develop as well.
They do.
Once in a generation, you get a ready-made NFL pro quarterback that can step in year 1 and light the world on fire. But Jaden Daniels was a once-in-a-generation quarterback. This is the same generation. Cam Ward is not Jaden Daniels. Dan Quinn is not Brian Callahan. Cliff Kingsbury is not Nick Holtz. The situation there could not be more different. We've got to get that out of our minds and watch Cam perform week in and week out in a vacuum and let that be all that matters. Because it just feels like the analysis is on way too far ends of the spectrum on both sides for me.
It is. So to the original point of, like, sometimes you might have to tell a young guy what to do.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, they were allowed to do what they wanted to in their said cities until they got with somebody they respect. And now look at their pathways. Look at what they've turned into. It's not out on Cam, but, like, legitimately when I said, like, if this doesn't work out bad, like good this year, like, Cam can lean more towards a bust than he does being successful here, no matter how high you think of him. Because, again, you can get messed up. There are coaches that ruin careers in all leagues. NBA, MLB, NFL. This happens often, more than we give it credit for. Scenarios of what you're being taught, the ones that you respect. I saw Keith Bullock early this morning while we were up, before we came to the show, speaking about it's a lot of bad coaching around the NFL too. It was something, the tweet was very similar to that. Like, your scenarios matter a lot.
Yeah.
They genuinely do. And that's where I'm looking at, like, where Cam is and the next hire that this team has to make.
Sure. Comments like this are what I think lowers the level of conversation. Comment in the F&M Bank chat on YouTube says, well, the media gave up on Malik Willis after 3 games. Malik Willis was selected with the 86th overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. Cam Ward was selected 85 picks higher. Number 1 overall picks get more time. They earn it. Malik Willis did not earn 3 seasons to be the guy. Did people give up on him too quickly here? Maybe. That's not for me to decide. I certainly did. I was probably wrong on how quickly I gave up on him as a quarterback. But Cam Ward's talent and ability is what earns him the right to get the benefit of the doubt. Fairly or unfairly, the league decided that Malik Willis was a 3rd-round pick. The Tennessee Titans decided Cam Ward was number 1 overall. Of course the number 1 pick is going to get more time. That's the way this works at every position. That is the way the NFL works, truly. That's a running back. That's a wide receiver. Why do you think Andre Dillard was signed here? He was a former 1st-round pick. There was talent and intangibles enough to give him a second look. That's true. Traylon Burks is on, the Washington Commanders right now. because he was a first-round pick. He showed enough talent in 3-4 years of college film to necessitate faith. When you're drafted later, you don't get that benefit of the doubt. And that's just the reality of the way professional sports works.
You get one shot. You maybe two if you're a second and third rounder. Anybody after that, it just don't happen for you.
Yep. Coming up, 615-737-1045. I shouldn't be as exhausted by this as I am. We will wrap up the show. You can chime in. Your thoughts, are you more on bust or Cam can't make a good meal out of bad ingredients? Is it Cam's fault? Is it his surroundings part? We'll get to more of your reaction coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster for Bronze Motorsports, man. You know the brand, you know the name. You've probably been there yourself and want to take somebody else there also. But if you're ready to elevate your vehicle, Bronze Motorsports, they specialize in transforming rides with statement-making custom wheels, immersive audio experiences, and head-turning style through custom tints and wraps. Whether you're seeking something subtle or a complete custom build, they deliver cutting-edge style and performance for all vehicles, including the most exclusive and exotic vehicles, too. If you're a Jeep or Bronco owner and want the ultimate off-road package, or Bronze Motorsports is the undisputed leader in those types of customization. Bronze Motorsports can give it an aggressive off-road appearance and performance that's made them an undisputed leader in off-road upgrades. Usually, if you see a vehicle on the road that's done up, Brian did it. All right, I just want to throw that out there. They offer tire and wheel packages, lift kits, lighting kits, winches, interior, and audio customization. Simply put, if you need something done or want something done, just go to my folks in Hendersonville, man. Bronze Motorsports, 789 West Main Street in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And make sure you tell them that Ramon sent you.
Wrapping up the show, Ramon and Will. We're fueled by Scooter's Coffee. Final call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. Comparing the psychology of Joe Burrow to Cam Ward, Ramon, means that you are comparing two alpha personalities.
Yeah.
To the point about Cam needing to learn the balance between cockiness and confidence.
Yeah.
And being able to follow a game plan. You had another point to make about Joe Burrow and how Joe learned how to do that and learned how to rewire his brain, which I say figuratively, because unlike Will Levis, he didn't really say that in a press conference, but you know what we mean.
What I'm getting at, some people are okay with taking instructions and doing those instructions, and then you see, wow, he also has this. I didn't know we were getting this today. And that's my point with like Cam's ability to run the offense and get the basics down. So the only reason I brought up Joe Burrow is because Callahan's been linked to him. But I do think we're dealing with a slightly different personnel or characteristics of what they are. The same as Peyton is not the same as Burrow either. But here's what I will tell you is this. The quarterbacks I've played for and watched, the good ones, you never know what they're thinking. Even if they do get rattled, you'll never see them sweat. Even Tannehill in his good times, you saw him celebrate. In the down times, it's just like, okay, whatever, moving on.
And I think Cam has that personality.
I think Cam has a rattled personality right now. I think he has the confidence to push through. But the reactions that you're getting from him in moments where it doesn't go his way is where he's got to get better at. I shouldn't be able to, as a competitor, I know when I got somebody. I can look and be like, he's mine now.
See, I come at it from making the same observation, but because he is so confident in his own ability, he's doing so much outside of the structure and the plan of what every given play is supposed to be. That's where I'm at. We're saying the same thing.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing.
We're just getting there from different directions. In your mind, he's too rattled and he's too becomes too anxious in the pocket, so he's bailing out of the plan. For me, he's so confident in himself.
Yep.
That he thinks that he can do more than what he can get away with against NFL defense.
No doubt. And Curtis, we preface this by saying this is his rookie year. Come on, keep up with us on this one, too.
Yeah, no, we're saying it's too early to make any major claims. It's just the Ben Kurtz of the world, and honestly, Dan Orlovsky's also aren't admitting as much as I think they should that Cam has flaws, and Cam has had a lot of negatives to his play that he can control.
And he going to have to check that.
Yeah.
And he going to have to also follow instructions. So real quick, I want to read the quote specifically because I don't want to make it seem like Joe Burrow's a serial killer. But this is what the sociology teacher said about Joe Burrow. I just want you to know Joe has the kind of qualities you find in first responders, policemen, and serial offenders. His blood pressure doesn't change whether he's cutting the lawn or pulling people out of a building. Thank God he's not using his talents for bad because he could be the next Dexter. He's a stone cold killer. That's how I want my quarterback.
But yeah.
But do you get my point? Like, that's what you want. Like, Aaron McNair, you didn't see him sweat. He's getting his butt beat out there on the field at times. He's playing through broken ribs or other injuries. You never saw him sweat. I tell the story often, like Ben Roethlisberger got his nose broken, right? On a block over me. You know what Ben said? Nothing.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is there's a level and mindset on playing that position to where you don't, respectfully, I say this because it was flagrant, and I'll say that as a football player because now it's being used as a meme.
Right.
As truthful as it was, you don't go to the podium and say, we ass. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Now it's a league-wide joke.
It is.
Now people are putting his face on that end, and it's got, I'm ass.
Yep.
Like, that's what I'm getting, like the growth. So that's why I'm saying whoever this new coach is, I know everybody want to see Cam cook and roll him out and everything else that comes with it. But what I'm getting at is this. Sometimes as a player, you get more success being told what to do, and then you do your thing after the fact.
I think it's fair. Back at it tomorrow morning, we will have Rhett Bryan previewing Titans and Colts, talking about the changes and what this week's challenge looks like. We'll see if we get news on Tony Vitello today. Seems that way. And I'll react to that accordingly as well. Bright and early, 6 a.m. when we talk to you next tomorrow.
But remember, there's always a next game, but your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot. It's Ramon and Will for Volunteer Traditions. Will, man, you don't have to choose between the big national brands.
That's
because you can just choose something that's local and state, and that's also from Knoxville itself when it was founded back on campus in 06, man, and that's Volunteer Traditions. They have almost everything you need for your game day experience. It's fun, it's good, it feels good on your skin, Will, and more than anything, feel like it's a little bit cheaper and just better for you.
It looks good and it's comfortable. What else could you need from game day apparel or your Tennessee gear? Volunteer Traditions has been doing this since 06. They carry everything Vols, polos, outerwear, tees, and hats. They sent by a couple of their new fleece outerwear items. I've got a crew neck with the Rifleman logo on the front, a very comfortable quarter zip. The best part, it's soft, it's comfortable, the fleece material, it's premium stuff. You got to check them out. Volunteer Traditions, they'll have you looking good and feeling good on Tennessee football Saturdays and basketball Saturdays. Check them out online at volunteertraditions.com.